It's outdated, I gotta get it done.
That was a good time.
So,
That one's wrong.
it is, it's fast. Still got another minute.
That one's slow, 2 minutes.
Whenever you're ready, we are.
Gotta shut this thing down, I was looking at the motorcycle.
So we need just to start up.
Wait till the screen goes off.
Motorcycle trains, lanes.
I'm looking for tracks whenever your phone goes off. The train's going through.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Morrison County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the pledge if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Morrison County Board of Commissioners meeting.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Approval of county board minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the board minutes. So do I have any further discussion on that matter? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any deletions or additions to the agenda?
Yes, the sheriff's office report has been added.
Okay.
Where are you putting that one at, may I ask?
It's right above social services.
Number
report.
13. Got it.
It's on.
Mr. Chair, you
Should
have
be
a
in there.
revised agenda
Yes,
in
sir.
front of you.
Okay.
With
Further
that,
questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion on approving the additions or deletions. Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have a proclamation for the 2015 National Crime Victims Rights Week. Anyone involved in that, please come up.
Mr. Chair, if I could just remind folks, we have a number of proclamations. If everybody here for those could stick around for a bit until they're all read, and then we'll take some photos.
Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Morning.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Okay,
I'm Lindsay Fuchs. I'm from Hands of Hope.
and could we have all of you introduce yourselves before we get going?
Amanda Caping.
Stephanie Ack.
Julie Kapsch. Jennifer Pananen.
Good morning, ladies. Welcome.
National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 19th through the 25th, 2015. Whereas Americans are the victims of more than 26 million crimes each year, and crime can touch the lives of anyone regardless of age, national origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic status. Whereas the entire community has a role to play. Whereas involving survivors, engaging victims' communities, and incorporating communities' existing experts and trusted sources of support help victim service providers and criminal justice professionals understand the culture, values, and expectations of under and underserved victims who seek assistance and justice in order to develop a criminal justice system response that is truly accessible and appropriate for all victims of crime. Whereas with the full weight of their community and victim service providers behind them, survivors will feel empowered to face their grief, loss, fear, anger, and shame without fear of judgment and will feel understood and worthy of support. Whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 19th through 25th, 2015, is an opportune time to commit to ensuring that all victims of crime, even those who are challenging to reach or serve, are offered culturally and linguistically accessible and appropriate services in the aftermath of crime. And whereas Hands of Hope Resource Center is hereby dedicated to building partnerships with trusted sources of support, including community leaders, religious groups, schools, and other agencies to better reach and serve all victims of crime, no matter their community. Now, therefore, we do hereby proclaim the week of April 19th through 25th, 2015 as Morrison County's Crime Victim Rights Week, and reaffirm this county's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during Crime Victim Rights Week and throughout the year, and to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace.
Thank you.
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair, and at this time, I'd like to thank you for all you do.
Have a
And I'd
motion on the
second-
floor and a
I'll
second.
second the motion, Mr. Chair, and I will add to what Commissioner Johnson has said. you don't know how important you folks are, and that's the bottom line. You truly don't. And I thank you very kindly for everything that you do.
Is there further discussion, gentlemen?
Just thank you for all you do.
As a member of the violence prevention team for many years now, Council, I am very aware of all the issues and concerns regarding victims and their rights, so thank you so much. I do appreciate it, so thank you. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If you'd please wait around for some pictures, ladies, we'd appreciate that.
Appreciate you coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one copy already, actually. Oh, right. All right.
Next, proclamation, Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Same people.
Here we go. All right.
Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas sexual assault is an intolerable, violent crime with public health implications for every person in Morrison County, either as a victim, survivor, a loved one, or a community member. And whereas a person is sexually assaulted every 2 minutes in the United States, and 1 in 5 women in Minnesota report being sexually assaulted at some point in their life. And whereas in fiscal year 2014, Hands of Hope Resource Center served 115 new sexual assault victims and their loved ones in Morrison County. And whereas the voices of those who have been victims of sexual violence must be heard throughout public awareness and education activities. And whereas no person, organization, agency, or community can estimate sexual violence on their own. The Board of Commissioners joins Hands of Hope Resource Center in believing that all Morrison County residents must be part of the solution to eliminate crimes of sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Morrison County and the Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 2015 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in honor of all Morrison County residents who have made a conscious and dedicated decision to end sexual violence.
Thank you. And do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month proclamation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Once again, ladies, thank you for all you do. These things kind of play hand in hand with violence and whatever, so thank you. And next. All those in favor, I apologize. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. And next one, National Volunteer Week proclamation. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Could please introduce yourselves to the board?
Tammy Bankston, Morrison County United Way. Jennifer Burr.
Linda Johnson, St. Gabriel's Hospital.
Amanda Caping, Hands of Hope.
Gina Vetter with the Chamber of Commerce.
Tiffany Pica, Horizon Health RSVP.
Val Kula, Horizon Health Volunteer Services Coordinator.
John Kanopic, Foster Grandparent Program.
Welcome all.
Whereas the entire community can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small. And whereas volunteers can connect with local community service opportunities through hundreds of community service organizations like the Morrison County Volunteer Network. And whereas more than 2,300 volunteers working in Morrison County utilize more than 100,000 hours of their time and talent to make a difference in the lives of children, adults, and the elderly. And whereas during Volunteer Appreciation Week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. And whereas the giving of oneself in service to another empowers the giver and the recipient. And whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all of our nation's problems. And whereas our country's volunteer force of over 64.5 million people is a great treasure. And whereas volunteers are vital to our future as a caring and productive nation. Now therefore, we, Commissioners for Morrison County, do hereby proclaim April 12th through April 18th, 2015 as National Volunteer Week in Morrison County and urge fellow citizens to volunteer and light the way in their communities. By volunteering and recognizing those who serve, we can build our communities with understanding and compassion.
Thank you.
I would so move on that, Mr. Chair. And again,
volunteers. Think about it, if there wasn't any volunteers around, what things wouldn't get done. So, thank you.
I will second that, and I thank you too.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner?
whether it's ringing the bell at Christmas time, or whether it's someone sitting at a desk at the hospital welcoming somebody, the idea and the theory behind volunteers is unbelievable and second to none. And there's not enough thanks that the community could ever give, in all honesty, to all of our volunteers, and I thank you very much.
And again, it's the time and effort you put in to, help everyone out in the community, and that's very commendable for all the volunteers in this county. We need a lot more like you.
And that all being said, thank you for all you do. Volunteers are so important as far as establishing relationships. There are so many people who don't have loved ones remaining. Your relationships with them is so important to our community, as well as the cost savings to the county and social services is just, the dollar amount is just so major. So thank you so much for all you do. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Child Abuse Prevention Month. Yeah. When I don't stumble. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. I recognize a
morning.
few of you here
Yeah.
from a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Good morning.
I'm Amber Kuzler, Assistant County Attorney.
Melanie Erickson, Social Services.
Lindsay Fuchs, Hands of Hope.
Amanda Caping, Hands of Hope.
Melanie Hoheisel, Guardian Ad Litem.
Anita Larson, Little Falls Schools.
And Brian Middendorf, County Attorney.
Thank you.
Whereas child abuse continues to be a problem within our society, and whereas April has been declared National Child Abuse Prevention Month, whereas Minnesota has initiated many efforts to promote child abuse prevention programs within counties, and whereas Morrison County has promoted such programs and recognizes that children are an important part of our society, needing the support and protection of our community, and whereas Morrison County recognizes the good work of community professionals in assisting families in preventing child abuse, special thanks being given to the Morrison County Child Protection Team and Safe Families of Morrison County. And whereas Safe Families of Morrison County recognizes and supports the efforts of parents, extended family, friends, and neighbors of children to provide a safe and loving environment for children, be it resolved that April is hereby declared Child Abuse Prevention Month in Morrison County.
I have a request on the table.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on that.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Thank you for all you do, ladies. We appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I will. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, if we could have the first two groups up with the Hands of Hope.
I know, I forgot the first time.
Move our chairs like last time.
That's your goal. I appreciate the assistance.
Okay, so anyway, what are we doing? Pushing the chairs, just leave my chair left at the corner. Yes, I can do that.
Put them in the corner there, yeah?
I think we stay.
Oh,
Yes, right. It's me.
Over here.
That's what we usually are.
All right, yes, if we could just kind of.
Set that camera down.
I need to, yeah. Yep, there you go. You have the side one
One quick caution, Susan, on the phone with me about past this, and you get your names and titles, organization, in the order you're in. Let's bring the young lady here, let's bring you up front. So much for that, you're up front. Squeeze in a little behind you there. Everybody kind of see everybody, okay? Looking good. Okay, I see everybody on three, a one and a two and a three. Let's do it again. And turn that knee flash. A one and a two and a three. Oh, boy, that wired you out real nice. Let's do one more, just for heck.
Just for that.
1, 2, 3. Okay, and if, let's just pass this right down the line here.
We're not, we're gonna move it along and they're gonna come
Oh,
over
you're
here. 'cause
doing
I have
good.
this bells on here.
Yeah, you got the
Need to
names
take a
on?
photo card?
Stick around. Teeth.
So, all right.
If you would add, yeah, your,
Amanda, your last name. Kaving, K-A-V-I-N-G. And then your name again.
They're going to, we're next.
Okay.
A-N-A-M-E-N.
All right.
let's just add, give this to them, and if you would add the titles, organization.
All right. And then if we could have the next volunteer group, please.
If everybody
Yeah.
would,
Thank you, ladies.
everybody feeling next bit, make it happier, yeah.
Take that as well.
Morning, Linda. How are you? Good.
I know, it's important stuff.
Lady in the back there, if you'll come over and get in the middle, right about there, there we go. Looks like we got her.
You know, we're gonna
Okay,
do teeth.
looking this
All
way.
right. Valroy smile.
Big smile.
Smile.
All right.
Okay, looking this way now. 1
Sorry,
and
Brian.
2 and 3,
Just,
Dwayne, that way to your right. No, Dwayne, not you, young lady. We pulled back out where you were there. Okay. Okay, now I can see everybody. 1 and a 2 and a 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Gotcha. Okay, we need names of everybody but the commissioners. Yeah, left to right and front to back. Let's see, I got a second page for you.
nice birthday.
Thank you. Everyone needs
Wow.
I do like pasta, give me some sushi.
Or if you wanna just get the names down, real quickly.
We'll get them in a
Across the front row, and then you were kind of in the front row.
Gina's just a woman. Right? One turn.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Tammy, what's your last name?
B-E-N.
I love this.
G-T.
We're gonna be good friends.
We are gonna be, absolutely.
Amanda, what's your last name? We have that in another one.
Okay, let's get another photo going. I can get with you, and maybe somebody else will help finish that up.
Child protection. Child protection.
All right, child protection.
Child protection, let's go. Child protection.
Join us. Thinking that you weren't here to use that carpet. I know that you.
There you go. I told you.
Melanie, do you want to tell or Nina, one of the two?
I want to drop you guys in the back and bring you up front here.
Oh, nice try, Melanie.
Yeah, nice try.
Right here?
Yeah, that's, all the ladies up front. All the gents.
I'm starting to write here and you're making me
Ladies in front, come on up.
lose my way
Men
here.
in back.
You're switching on me.
Okay.
We're gonna switch positions, we're switching. Jeff's, we're switching now. There we go.
Okay, everybody angle a little bit, squeeze in. There we go. Randy, come forward to your side there a little bit, right there we go.
Now I want you to, everybody show
Looks
your
like
teeth.
we got her here. Ready, a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Okay, this Randy, time Randy, go a little bit to your left. Okay. Here we go, 1 and a 2 and a 3. And perfect flash. I can. 1, 2, 3. doesn't think it needs ice, that's good.
Oh, wait, one more, Deb.
Perfect, though. No, there we go, we got everybody. See,
Thank you.
Lindsay, and then. That's enough for one. Right behind you, Anita.
There he is. You know what, Jim? I was gonna say that's half the battle. Oh, my goodness sakes, no. Actually, not even a good start. Not even a good start.
Verify after. Right. You did.
Take my pen.
Yeah, he did. Look at his desk. It's full. Got this really nice blue crust on the sheet.
All right, I believe the Initiative Foundation is next. Please come forward.
Thank you.
Morning. If you please
Morning.
introduce yourself to the
Good
board.
morning, how are you? I would have worn my tie today, Randy, but.
It's okay that you did.
Okay.
Actually, I have mine pre-tied.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes, Larry Korf and Elise Ristow from Initiative Foundation. And we want to thank you today for giving us the time on your agenda. We recognize and will respect your time. I know we've got a short window here. Our purpose today is to update the commissioners on Initiative Foundation and our programs as part of the partnership with Morrison County, and also a great thank you to all of you for your support that you've done over the years for Initiative Foundation. We'll provide a quick update and then field any questions today, if you might, that's okay with you, Chair?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. The foundation's been around since 1986. I'm sure many of you are aware of the history. We could talk about the history for a good hour, but what I really want to focus on is just the projects that we've been involved with between our revolving loan fund and the different grants and programs that we have at the foundation. There's been a number of projects that Dan Bullard, our finance manager, loan manager, has been involved with, and the fiber optic project that happened, the foundation partnered with the city here in Little Falls and was able to help finance the infrastructure and purchase and install of the fiber optics being able to go into northern Little Falls. I know that went out to Atomic Learning, and they're helping to get more out into the industrial park out there. Gecko Sports is another one. They partnered with Larson Boats. It's actually a business from Tennessee that came all the way up to Little Falls to work with Larson Boats. They contracted for a specific sport boat to be built through Larson Boats. So that was just a really neat partnership to have a business come from a different part of the country just to Little Falls. It's just a great way to continue to build our community. Atomic Learning, they had some expansion into their K-12. And they wanted to do more online with K-12 as opposed to, a lot of their focus is training for teachers, and they really wanted to be able to focus more on K-12 as well. So we helped with the transition of ownership and different purchasing and being able to really move that along. I also, down in Royalton was their city hall, they put solar panels all over their city hall, and they'll be receiving tax credits because they did that, but until they receive those, they needed help with that financing project. And so through our revolving loan fund, the foundation was able to partner with them and help move that project along, and then they'll be able to pay that back through those tax credits. So just a really neat energy project that's happening down in Royalton. Then one other one I would just like to highlight is Smoody Enterprises over in Piers. It was an ag project that we got involved with, their sunflower oil, helped with financing their equipment and just being able to help build their industry up. A really neat thing we have is the Thriving Communities Initiative. Between the city of Randall and the city of Little Falls over the couple years, we will have invested over $10,000 between the two cities. Little Falls got involved with the TCI Fast Track program. and engaged about 36 citizens, and they were able to come together and talk about the city of Little Falls and ways that they can help build up Little Falls. And through those conversations, they came up with a high school mentorship program and a way for high school students to really get engaged with businesses and the community and help learn more so that when they graduate, they have a better idea of what they want to go to college for. And then a lot of the hope for that is then they make those connections, and they really are able to think after they go to college, they know what they want to do, and then they can come back here and really engage those connections they made when they were younger.
Question, TCI.
Thriving Communities Initiative.
Thank you.
Sorry, yes, please stop me anytime. So they also talked about economic growth and way to enhance quality of life here. They talked about having more centralized community events and being able to involve more. Another thing is they're partnering with with law enforcement to help with beautification, so working downtown and on Broadway and really helping make Little Falls just a better place to live and work. Over in the city of Randall, they're more in the initial stages of that Thriving Communities initiative. There's been just very brief discussions of feasibility studies around building up living and ways to serve veterans better, and just different things the city of Randall can do to really help build their community and make it a better place for the people who are there and to attract more. Also, there was a meeting that happened that I believe some of you were involved in with Apple Tree Dental, and bringing that to the community. And it's my understanding that they come to serve the undeserved, both elderly and children. And through our early childhood dental network, they'll be working, and hopefully they can reach more those who don't have dental. And then we also with early childhood, our early child initiative, the Morrison County Interagency Council will be partnering with the Initiative Foundation to host a superintendent's meeting to really start talking about ways that they can more effectively focus on early childhood. And so there's very early discussions about ways that we can grant and provide more money back to them as well. So those are some of the major projects that we've had going on in the last year or two. So any questions, any other updates you'd like to hear?
I think, maybe just put a couple comments in there. One is, when you summarize Initiative Foundation, you're kind of looking at economic development for the region, specifically for Morrison in our 14 county regions, community, working with the communities and strengthening the communities, building the capacity of other nonprofit organizations that are out there, and then the last one is the early childhood development, which I think is really critical for every community out there, so that we get the young people in the right frame of mind going forward for the right business careers and or nonprofit careers that they want. And then from my perspective, I'm Mayor Genola as well, if you all know where that metropolitan area is. Been there for a number of years, born, raised, and lived in the Morrison County area. Had the opportunity to work in St. Cloud for a number of years, retired, and now have an opportunity to help other nonprofits through the Initiative Foundation to make this a better place to live, work, and for everybody that resides in the communities that we have in the counties. So, and we want to thank you for your support of those programs and those efforts as well.
Thank you for all you do.
And Mr. Chair, if I, may comment on your impact update, I see that, you're doing maybe a little biased, but Morrison County looks like they're way in the top there for grants dollars received. Also, this Apple Tree, I think that's gonna be a great program for Morrison County, because I think the closest now is maybe
Alexandria,
or something
Deerwood.
like that. So I'm glad that you're getting involved in that, and not just them, but all of them, but that one I think will be great for the community.
Yeah, it's a great organization with, was started by McKnight, as it says on the presentation many years ago, and has flourished over the years, and it's got good stability with it and does a lot of good things for a lot of people. And, it's actually a pretty complex little organization when you think about all the things that we touch and all the balls we have in the air at the same time, but very good staff that goes along with it, and we thank you and each one of the districts and the county for their support. So with that, I think we'll probably close it and let you get on with other business.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for coming.
Thank you for all you do, and the partnerships are very much appreciated.
Yes.
We appreciate your support. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Boys and Girls Club.
Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've been all done.
If you would share who you are and who you
We
represent.
sure will. I think, I know most of you. I'm Bernie Jube. Been volunteering with Boys and Girls Club forever. This is Nate Jansen, our branch director, and Ricky Solomon, our executive director. So, actually, they're gonna do the talking for a
Okay.
change.
Okay. Very
I
good.
think.
You drove them here.
Yeah. You know, yeah.
Well, first I'll talk a little bit about club, what we've been doing in the past year. Past year, we have a little flyer here, shows a little bit of our ADA throughout the year. Our summer ADA is 71 kids. Our average ADA is 70. We do a lot of things at Boys and Girls Club. Speaking of our five core programs that we run, which is sports, fitness, recreation, our education, career development, health and life skills. We have a character, leadership, and the arts. So we do a fine arts exhibit. 23 of our participants got to do our fine arts exhibit. Very, very cool thing. They get to send their stuff to a national program, actually win trips. So it's a really cool thing that kids look forward to is the arts. We do a power hour program. It is more of our education things. 158 youth attended our power hour program, which is very strong. Power hour is one of our #1 things that we do at the Boys and Girls Club. Other things we have on here is triple play, 5,611 kids, so 224 youth. That's how many hours we put into these youth outside, doing 1 hour a day. One kid, 1 hour outside doing an activity. You don't
Just
see
a
that.
question for the public, and I know it's
Absolutely.
the average daily attendance is
Yes.
71 is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
just want
Yep.
people to hear that.
Yep.
Okay.
Other programs, I really love our career launch program. This program is meant for teens. Our teens come in, learn how to do a resume, learn how to do a job application. None of them know how to do things like that. I guess a highlight story is one of the teens wanted to get a job and move on his own. He was 18, girlfriend and all. Got the job application, was gonna get the job. Mom said, no, I can't. You can't have the job. I'll make too much money. And we strived, got him into the job, into the house, apartment on his own, through this program. So, helped with a little bit of, people from Brainerd helped us, in this program. It was just an awesome story. This kid just strived, wanted to get on his own, and wasn't able to do that in this program. Helped get him on his feet and on his own. So, we do a UPS road code class. We just got back from yesterday. They learned safe driving, what you do, how you set your mirrors, how you drive, the rules of driving, being safe drivers. So, anything else? You want to throw in there, Ricky?
Yeah, just touch a little bit more on that UPS road code. We partner with UPS. UPS, with their business, have to be safe on the road. So the same employees that train their drivers actually come to the club site, and they train our teams to be safer drivers within their community. We got two $8,000 simulators, so it's not only classroom instruction, they're actually on the driver's simulator that can test their scores and then go back and forth with it. So it's been a great partnership with the UPS, and it's benefited and put safer team drivers into our community. And it's not just the kids that are 16 and 17 that have their license. A lot of the younger kids, 13, 14 years old, could be in cars with kids that are driving, and we want them to make the proper decisions when they're out there on the streets.
Very good.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
A
Johnson.
simulator, you actually have a simulator on site there, or UPS brings theirs?
We have it at our Elk River branch
Oh,
sites,
okay,
and so
very
we
good.
provide transportation for Little Falls. They don't want us moving them all over. We're trying to establish it as one up in Little Falls currently. But we do have it at one of our other branches, and then we provide transportations for the Little Falls community to take advantage of this program that we do have.
Very good. If you've never been in a simulator, it's quite a deal. I mean, everything you do is there.
Very good. Other questions from the board?
when are you getting ready to, are you getting ready to move to the west?
We've been ready for a year and a half. No, you know, you all know the store is up and running and doing well. The club side is more intricate, and, you know, we've got the heating in, and the electrical is 90% done, and you know, we had to, now it's time for volunteers to come in and do the painting and do the flooring and so on. So it's coming, but I think Ricky will agree, the balancing of keeping the club where, the existing club where we want it to be, and doing the new building has been a challenge. And, but it's coming along. And the store is doing very well, so that'll be able to help that process. Sure. And,
Mr. Chair, we have a lease right now through the end of the year. You know, the building obviously is, you know, in substantial disrepair that, you know, you're making.
That's kindly said.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chair, I think we'd be happy to, if you'd want to extend that lease, we would do that for you.
well, you know, and I want to thank all of you for the support. I mean, not just with the building, but other support personally and on a county basis. It's really, it shows the heart of our community. And we thank you for that, but boy, I hope we don't need it for another year.
But, Mr. Chair, that was a good use of that building that was sitting there.
Well,
you know, for the kid, that was a good use.
You know, and in hindsight, we couldn't have found a better place.
I know.
You know, everybody sees the kids out playing, and it really raised awareness, and that was great. And, but it's, I'll bet Mike Neiman could use it for practice. Once we're out, he's the fire chief.
And members of the board, I think STS crew did a lot of work for you over there. Did they not help you with some of this
Oh,
stuff?
they did. I can't say enough about Sentence to Serve, and Tim Broomer and his crews. They, from taking off the old roof to doing some of the most god-awful dirty work you'd ever imagine, taking that old rotten ceiling down, and they're always just very responsive. So that is a true benefit to the entire community, because those when they're not all kids either. Of course, they are when you're 70, I guess. But you know, they work hard, they're respectful, and they're glad to be out.
Sure.
And we're glad to have it. So
Very good.
so that's a wonderful program.
Other questions or comments from the board? Well, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
It's important.
Thank you.
Yes, building young lives is so important.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Hey, you all too. Nate, what's yours?
And we have Carol from Community Development. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Carol.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, the foundation is up, I think, on the shrimp farm, if you were all there.
really?
So-
Okay, we were there.
So they're really moving ahead, and they hope to be having shrimp going out the door in October, so.
Really?
Yeah,
Good,
so I
good.
think that'd be great. If you knew the food co-op that's thinking about starting, they did a survey. I think they used some of the county employees' emails, I think. And that's been done, and they're tabulating it as we speak to see, how many people would really use it for the food co-op. Food Hub, we had a meeting there, and it was interesting. There were over 80 people there. I think Commissioner Jelinski, you were there for the one that was standing room only out in the hall at the Workforce Center conference room. And then at the same time, they had training for 34 farmers that will be selling to the Food Hub on proper food handling and, what you have to do to get it sanitized and all of that. So that was really good. They've got Gangle Construction has been engaged from Buckman. They're the contractor that's doing the build-out on it. The space has been cleaned, and now the construction can start. Starting to move on now, okay, where are we gonna get some of the equipment from and all that? So we're gonna have some meetings with that. So I think that's really moving along. Like to see it faster, but it's really finally launched now well. I've got a couple of other businesses that I'm working with that are looking at locations in the county, so it's keeping us busy.
Very good. Questions of the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Kira, I remember, they're putting a kitchen in that food hub too, correct?
That's in phase 2. They want to put a commercial kitchen in, yes. Mhm.
So phase 2, is that gonna be like a year, 2, 5 years down the road?
As soon as we get the money.
Okay, all right.
And you know what's interesting is if they have that commercial kitchen, they can hire people to further process the food for the school districts. So the meeting that we had, where it was standing room only, there were a lot of school districts there with their head of their kitchens, because they don't have the equipment to do that. We'll do it and they'll take more of it. You know, when you look at the drought now that's going on in California, you know, you're gonna have to get more towards local foods.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the school people that were there want so much to get local stuff. I just think that this food hub thing, it might be baby steps, and it might be baby steps for a long time. But I just see this as being something that has I have the vision of seeing it just blossom into something really big. I really truly do.
It's across the nation. I was at the National Farmers Union Conference and Secretary Vilsack was there. And that was one of the top 3 things he talked about was local foods and helping smaller farmers get into local foods and food hubs.
And Mr. Chair, to back up a little bit to the smoothies, that people realize that you're gonna be able to buy that over the counter, right, in Piers, so,
Yes.
which will be can't ask for any fresher shrimp than that, I guess.
That's exactly right. I mean, out of the tank and there you go.
Very good. Other comments from the board? All right. Well, thank you, Carol, for all you do. We
Yep.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got a meeting in 2 weeks from today, right?
Have a good day. I see the Historical Society just walked in. You really know how to time this. Come on up. Morning, Art. Morning, ladies.
Morning.
Good morning.
Paperwork.
You have the rest of the day for us?
And can you introduce yourself, please, so that the public is aware of who you are and who you represent?
I'm Jan Warner. I'm the director of the Weyerhaeuser Museum.
I'm Art Warner, President, Morrison County Historical Society.
And I'm Mary Warner, Museum Manager for the Morrison County Historical Society.
Very good, thank you and welcome. All right.
The first thing that I wanted to do this morning was ask you if you had been given the information that had been given to the architect about the historic courthouse. I wrote.
Did we
I don't know that the board got that, but I know that information
The architect,
was given to them.
the architect, yeah, and I thought maybe it'd be nice for the board to have copies of it.
Yes.
I don't know how many copies I've got here, but I'll just hand you some.
Right, thank you.
In the 1970s, I wrote the statement of significance and all of the information to have the Morrison County Historic Courthouse put on the National Register. And this is the information that was sent that made it possible to have it put on the National Register. So I thought you might like to have that and read over it because it should help you understand the building a little bit better. And I think I'm going to let Mary start with talking about her duties first, and then I will talk about what I do, and Art can chime in, and, well, whatever you have questions about, we'll try to answer them.
And have two ladies like this, I don't talk much.
And that's a good thing.
All right, ladies.
What I first want to explain to you is the 2 pieces of paper I handed out at the beginning. The first sheet shows an intro with our mission statement, basically, and what we do, which is, of course, preserve and share Morrison County history. One of the things that I like to point out about the Historical Society, the kind of realization I've come to about the place, is that we're actually part of the knowledge-based industry. Most people think, Historical Society, what do? You don't really contribute that much to anything. But we really deal in content. And so we're constantly digging up the history, trying to put it together. We're very careful researchers, those of us on staff. And so when we put something out, whether it's a story on the Little Falls Ravine or maybe the Bolus walking tour, that kind of thing, we try to really get the details right as much as we can with the resources that we have. And we have a lot of resources to share. And so I've kind of gone through some of the things under the intro, the things that we're called upon to do. And there's a lot more to a historical society than just walking in and looking at exhibits. The other thing I have on this list is the events that we have here in 2015. Right now we have a black and white exhibit, and so all the artifacts on it are pretty much black and white. Very interesting to go through our collections and do something from that perspective. That'll be up all year. This year marks the 40th anniversary of the Weyerhaeuser Museum. The Historical Society was founded in 1936, but the building opened in 1975. And of course, we have a long connection with the county here because we used to be in the historic courthouse. And then we got our building out on the river. And so here we are at the 40th anniversary, and you know, when a building gets to be 40 years old, there's a lot of work to be done on it. So we're in the middle of working on all kinds of things related to upgrading the HVAC system and the structure itself. Our goal is to get that on the National Register eventually, and in 10 more years, it will be eligible. The next event we have coming up is April 17th. We're doing a book talk with Judy Healy. And she has written a book about Frederick Weyerhaeuser. And Frederick was the founder of the Weyerhaeuser Corporation that still exists to this day. And his son Charles was sent here to run Pine Tree Lumber Company, which ran from about 1890 to 1920. So that's our big thing. And we're actually having that at the Carnegie Library. And then you can read the rest of the events that we have coming up this year. The second sheet, I've talked about needs on the back side, and then community participation, the things that we help with in the community, and it's pretty extensive. The list that you see here is just stuff we've done in like the last year. So, and then our second sheet I have is the program service accomplishments, the things that we did in 2014, so in the last year.
I thought that maybe, I often have them do staff reports, and then I do my reports at the meeting of the board, so I don't always get mine written down, and so I went back and looked at some of the things that I'm responsible for and what I have been involved with. I attend all the monthly meetings of the board, of course, and I present the director's report at that time. The staff report is prepared by Mary, and it is sent out ahead of the board meeting so that the board knows what's going on and what we're doing. My duties include the oversight of the facility and the general management, and then the staff takes over from there. Staff meetings, we do not hold them on a regular basis. We hold them regularly as far as what is necessary. If we're working on a project or each of us is doing something, we have a staff meeting to discuss that, and so we do it more as need than as every Monday or something like that. If I'm not going to be at the museum a day, I call in the morning. Mary is usually there by 9:30, and then I call in and find out what's going on for the day. If there isn't anything that I'm needed for, then I'm likely to work at home or in the community or going to events or that sort of thing. So we work much more as a team than we do as a hierarchy kind of relationship. And we work back and forth, and we do a lot of things as teamwork. Some of the things, we have our specific jobs, and so that's how the action flows at the museum. I often receive calls at home, as you might imagine. I've been in this such a long time that people know my name first sometimes and call me at home and find out what's going on. One day I had a call about a car, some model of car people were looking for, so I get some interesting calls. I also work on a lot of the things that are related to the Historical Society within the community and beyond, meetings and things like that. and I thought I'd give you some examples of what I've done recently. The resilient region that some of you went to was Region 5, and it was all about bettering the communities, bettering Region 5, and looking at all the things that will make it sustainable. So Art and I both went to that. We spent, 3 years, I think? 3 years going to those meetings. I've also been involved in the CERTS workshops, and I don't know if you know about CERTS, but it's Clean Energy Resource Teams. And they're actually statewide, and they're looking at green step communities, how to use alternative energies, sustainable energies, and things like that. So I am very interested in learning more about that for ourselves, for the Historical Society, and also for the total community, and how we can work together to do more of that. I attended the Town 101 organization meeting that was held in Little Falls. And I've been on we both have, for most of these things, we go together. So I've been on the School District Facilities Steering Committee, and we attended all 7 of the meetings. So I feel that we're quite well versed on it, and we'll have to make our minds up when the vote comes along, I guess. And most recently, I attended a geotourism conference that was held in Bloomington. It pertains to the Mississippi River, the Great River Road, the National Scenic Byway, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but our museum is tucked between the Mississippi River and the Great River Road National Scenic Byway. So what we would like to do now is plan an outside exhibit of interpretive signage and things that relate to transportation, because the oldest transportation, of course, is the Mississippi River, and the newest is the Great River Road Scenic Byway that they're working on right now. So I have been very involved in that. I've also been involved in the, what's it called? Northern Bedrock. I have trouble with that one. Northern Bedrock is a group that goes around, they restore things like old buildings and things. They have teams come in, and these people were students. Actually, they weren't students at the time. They had graduated with master's degrees in historic preservation, and they had them work on the Warren McDougall site in Royalton. Are you familiar with the Warren McDougall site? All of you? Yeah, well, they did some restoration work on that last summer, and they're hoping to do more. So those are the kinds of things that I have been working on specifically. I have some of the needs for the museum itself, and that is space. We're crammed in this building now because I guess we've been too successful at collecting and that kind of thing. We're also working on the HVAC system so that we can protect the artifacts better, and we have contracted with Contegrity, and also they're bringing in an engineer to evaluate what is going on with our building. We just had a thermal imaging done on the building this past week. Let's see, we need shelving, cabinetry, and all those kinds of things that come up that you don't put in your budget every year. And also, I'd like to mention some of the events that we're working on for this year. First of all, we had a recognition for Ben Smuda, a memorial at our museum, because he was our custodian, groundskeeper, and our best friend for 14 years. I really miss him. We're having the Fred Weyerhaeuser Book Talk, of course, and we're on July 2nd, we're hosting History After Hours. On August 23rd is the anniversary celebration. On September 16th through 18th, the State Historic Preservation Conference will be held in Little Falls, and so we'll be participating in that. And then this year, we're having the annual meeting of the Historical Society on September 27th, which will be separate this year from the 40th anniversary dinner, because we want that to be a special occasion. And on December 31st, we cooperate with the Lindbergh Center and the Lindbergh Park with the candlelight hike. So those are the events that we have for the year. So that's what I have to talk about at the moment.
Gentlemen, any questions or
Maybe
comments?
a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We may be looking for some expertise if we ever get some information. One, we get the information on the old courthouse about the restoration, if there's any grants out there. I know it's a long ways down the road, but there might be some,
Have you applied for any grants?
no, we have,
We haven't yet because we just don't know what the plan is.
Right.
Initially,
Okay.
in this facility study that we're doing now, the intent is to take a look at our space and what, things have changed so much in this period of time in terms of how we do business and
Exactly.
technology and how that's impacted different space needs in different areas where things are now electronic that used to need rooms of space and things of that nature, and customer flow and things like that. So we're looking at that and whether or not there's any opportunity to utilize the building more or anything of that nature, what that would look like, how that would move forward is all unknown at this point in time, but certainly I think appropriate to ask those questions, and I think the board has expressed that interest to say, we need to think, long-term and strategically plan that to make sure we continue to recognize the importance of that building and the beauty and everything that it brings to the community. And so, believe me, we have Jan and Art's number and Mary's, so if there's
We
any
know where you live.
opportunity.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's good.
we will tap into that,
Yes.
what is possible.
And we can certainly help find resources through the Minnesota Historical Society and the National Preservation Organizations and that kind of thing that are all knowledgeable about. In fact, we've been dealing with some of it at the museum ourselves because of the building itself. They refer to as the envelope that holds all the artifacts and things, and it has to have correct humidity and temperature and all that kind of thing. And so we've been dealing with that, and that's why we had the thermal imaging, I can't speak, thermal imaging people come in to find out how much leakage there was in windows and things like that. And so, fortunately, we found out that it wasn't very bad at all, and nothing needs to be done with our windows because we didn't want to put substitute kinds of windows in the building, and that's what you would be dealing with here, too.
We know we're doing the masonry restoration this
Yes.
summer, and
Yeah.
so we're going to make sure that is taken care of on the outside, but what we'd ever do, the plans aren't been brought forward yet, but we'll see what there is, but we
Yeah.
want to take a look at
Are
those
you,
opportunities.
are you planning any kind of alternative energy kinds of things over the whole complex? Like
again, like our administrator said,
solar
we're
and-
just in such the beginning stages. We have,
Yeah.
we're waiting for this is Mr. Johnson to come back with recommendations. It's a long ways down the road, but it's a start.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering about, you've got all these buildings with flat roofs, are you going to use it for solar or anything
There are
like?
so many alternative
I
energy
know
ideas
it.
out there, and there's so many different things and where we're at in the life of our systems, and certainly that's a question we continue to ask when any replacements come up or anything else
Yep.
that moves forward. We've done that. I know we've moved to more environmental friendly with some of the electrical work that we've done that has had to been updated and things of that nature. So it continues to be a question and on the radar on what we do.
The CERT meeting that we went to in Royalton, there was a gentleman there from Fridley, and Fridley has pretty much gone all environmentally friendly. And one of the things that really was of interest to me was how they handle their refuse. And they have a one-system handling of recycling and I guess you'd call all garbage kinds of things. And they have something called a blue bag that I didn't know anything about. So there are some resources out there that we can tap into that could make some real changes in how you deal with these buildings.
I was gonna say, in relation to grants and that kind of thing, we have quite a bit of experience now having dealt with legacy grants. And in fact, we've kind of been a pilot for how they've done grants, especially related to HVAC systems and that kind of thing. So now they're at the Minnesota Historical Society, as part of the grants process, they now make people get an engineer. Whereas when we were one of the very first HVAC grants to go through, and we didn't have an engineer, and we've had a little bit of issue as far as getting what we need out of our contractors. And so based on our experience, they have now said, okay, you all have to get engineers. So yeah, we're a little bit of a pilot as far as.
I'd like to make a comment for the benefit of the newer commissioners. The museum was built in 1975, and there are no tax dollars involved in that. It was a gift from a Weyerhaeuser family. Excuse me. And we get occasionally grants and things like that to help with operating expenses, but we're quite dependent on the amount that the county has allowed us. We've been tracking that the percentage of our total income from the county over the years has dropped quite a bit as we've managed to get other sources of income.
And thank you for helping to bring it back up a little bit
Oh,
this
yeah.
last year. That was very,
Well-
very important.
Another idea, you familiar with the older courthouse, the historic courthouse? Down in the basement, there's a room on the west side of the building. Before 1975, that was the museum.
Yep.
That one little room was the entire.
Yeah, I did know. All right, other questions from the board?
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for all you
Yeah.
do, we
Thank you.
appreciate it.
You've got our number if you need it.
Okay, all right. Have a good day. Sean Larson, come on up. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. How are you guys?
Good,
Good.
thank you.
I come forward today just to, with my brief description, I'm asking that the board will approve and allow the sheriff to sign all state and federal grants pertaining to law enforcement on behalf of Morrison County. And what, we just had one that just came through, it's a boat and water grant. And basically, if I was given permission to sign off, I'd be able to make sure that we're within the time constraints versus waiting for a board meeting, and then I have to worry about time constraints. So
Yep.
I think in the past, with our previous sheriff, we had a written resolution, which may have been written by our county administrator and signed, so I'm just asking for the same thing.
Mr. Chair, if we're gonna require a motion on this, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second on the floor to approve. Further input?
Mr. Chair, if I could just add to what we do is, I attest to the fact that you have identified and given permission for that to happen, and it's something that the sheriff can then submit with the grant funding, because typically it asks for board approval with that, and then with the timing, like you said, can get cumbersome and difficult, and we may miss opportunities in that regard. So what that does is just allows me as clerk to the board to attest to the fact that the sheriff is authorized to do that by what you grant today.
Other response from the board?
And Mr. Chair, it's not just this in particular grant, but I personally know there's Homeland Security grants that come through that require signature. It needs, and they just need to move.
Correct.
And it's a positive thing to do, so.
Other questions or comments, gentlemen? I have one question, and I
Sure.
really would wish that as these things come in, I know you will, but you'll inform the board of what you're applying for, whatever, as it comes up.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm aware you do that, but I just wanted to make that comment.
And-
Having heard no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
That's all I have. Thank you much.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sean.
Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Social Services Report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning, Melanie.
Good morning, Brad. Good morning.
This morning, we're going to do a child protection report, so I'll turn it over to Melanie.
Good morning. I just want to give an update on our child protection services and the trends that we continue to see in our child protection service. Child protection assessments and case management. Those cases are open because of a child maltreatment report that comes to our agency, and that meets the criteria according to the state screening guidelines for a child protection assessment. As you can see, we're continuing on about the same level we have been for the last several years. I did leave 2007 on there as an indicator that was kind of our old standard, previous to what I would say has a larger influence of the drugs of meth and heroin and prescription drugs in our community, so. All right. This is the split of when we do a family investigation and when we do a family assessment. There's two types of assessments that we can conduct in child protection, and if you've been following the Child Protection Task Force, you may have heard some discussion about this. In Morrison County, the way we've practiced with family assessment is that whether we conduct an assessment with a family assessment or a family investigation, the thoroughness of the assessment is the same. It's the same type of practice. We do contacts with collaterals. We may have individual meetings with children our families. We practiced, I guess, with safety being the primary focus. So we weren't having some of the other issues that I think were highlighted in the state with family assessments being referred out to community agencies. So I just want to make that note. One of the things that we look for in both a family investigation and a family assessment is whether or not services are needed. In other words, what does your family need in order for this not to be reported again? Whether or not the abuse occurred as was reported is really neither here nor there. What we're looking for in that assessment of need is what is going on in your family. Are there stressors with alcohol or drug issues? Is there domestic violence? Is there issues with poverty and homelessness that are contributing to the factors? And then those are the types of services that we're going to provide. When it says that services are not needed, that means it doesn't reach the standards so that our agency necessarily has to provide those services. We do referrals to community agencies such as like Northern Pines, Hands of Hope, and agencies like that. And if the family is cooperative and invested in those services, perhaps it's really a mental health issue that has caused the situation, and they're really invested in changing and turning that around, we'll make those referrals and then close the case. This slide reflects the allegations, the different allegations of child maltreatment that we work with. And these, I've looked back through other years, this trend hasn't changed much. This is pretty consistent for us. The sexual abuse, I would note, it does include actual sexual abuse of children as well as threatened sexual abuse. And that's a newer statute we've been working with, and that is where a sex offender who's registered has a child or is in the home with children in a parenting caretaking role. And so we open those assessments now as well. That's new for a couple of years ago. I know that in some of the metro counties, this has caused quite a lot of new assessments for them to manage. For us, we've continued to absorb that and found it manageable. The neglect, I do just want to mention, does represent a variety of family situations that can include educational neglect, lack of supervision, domestic violence, or families that have a child after a previous termination of parental rights. And so that really does encompass a lot of situations, and I would say neglect typically encompasses the situations that involve drug abuse situations, where it's often is a lack of supervision or some of those other issues, or domestic violence that kind of bring forward the issue of the drug abuse. These are our child protection assessments. What percentage we do as family assessment, what percentage we do as family investigation. And we are high in family assessment, and we again practice. We have we're in a smaller county compared to like a larger metro county, so we don't have different groups of people that deal with family assessments. It's the same assessment workers that are trained, and they may do it a family assessment approach or a family investigation approach. In some situations, what other counties would do if we opened a family assessment and the family wasn't cooperative, they might switch tracks and call it a family investigation. With our county attorney's office, we've just elected to go ahead and file the CHIPS petition instead of doing a change of track, kind of a bureaucratic kind of a process.
And Mel, CHIPS petition, for those that don't understand?
It's a child in need of protection or services petition. Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner. And that is a family court intervention that is designed to provide for protection or services for children. So.
Okay.
That's why we don't do that switch. Then we just proceed with the court case and provide safety with the court's assistance. That second pie chart just breaks out the percentages of maltreatment determined in the family investigations, because it's in family investigations that we make the determination of whether or not the abuse or neglect actually occurred. Family investigations are required for sexual abuse situations, extreme physical abuse, and shaken baby and those types of very serious situations. And this is a pretty low percentage for us to have a maltreatment determined. Typically, we're in the 80%, so this was kind of an outlier year for us. This shows one of the things we're measured on is our timeliness to how quickly we are out and seeing families, where we're doing a family assessment, a family investigation. A family assessment requires us to see the child within 120 hours or 5 days. And that is not business days, it's actual days. So if there's a holiday or weekend, we need to account and plan for that. And family investigations require us to be out and see the child within 24 hours. The actual numbers did not get on this chart, I apologize. Family assessments, now this is not the number of assessments, this is the number of children. So it counts it by children, not numbers of assessments, that's why those numbers are different.
And there may be more children in one home, is what you're saying.
Right. And so we had 136 family assessments that were timely and 8 that were not. And 27 family investigations that were timely and 1 that was not. And I know we track this very closely, so I know the situation in each one of those because I meet with the team every morning and I know what's happening. Sometimes families move and we can't find them, we can't locate them. That's what happened in the one in family investigation. And for family assessments, it's sometimes like one child is not at home, like the one child is visiting their father who's in Minneapolis or something to those effects. So sometimes we make the choice, if that child is safe in the metro area visiting their father, I'm not going to send a social worker down there just to meet that timeliness factor. We're going to proceed with what makes sense for safety. These are a number of children served by Child Protection Year. That's assessments and investigations both. And that's a point in time number. So that's, for the year of, 2014 and point in time. There's actually cases that have closed prior to that would add to that number, but it's just to give you an estimate. Right now, we're seeing larger family groups, and I think that accounts for that larger number of children that we're seeing. We have some large family groups that we've been working with blended families, and if there's blended families that share custody and they're coming, back and forth at home, we count all those children as well. This is our child protection cases, just to give you a capture of what our cases are. It's fairly consistent right now at our higher level of service. Those are the total cases for 2013 and 14, and then the cases we closed and the cases we have remaining. This is something we follow very closely for our open child protection cases, and that is seeing every child every month. And that is a large focus for our social workers, and we talk about it in team, and we work together sometimes as a team to accomplish this.
And sometimes it can
needed.
be more frequently than every month as well. correct?
Yes,
Yep.
that's correct, but we, at a minimum, they need to be seen every month. And so, that takes into account that we're in the best position, we have to be active in assuring safety and monitoring kids' well-being and seeing how they're doing in their home environment, but also sometimes seeing them in school or in some of those situations so that they can talk to us more in with more confidential situation.
Okay. Good.
Just one other follow-up. As you might recall, the Child Protection Task Force has been meeting for about 6 months. The final report is out. It will have an impact. However, I did talk with Representative Crecia, who was on the task force, and we have set April 28th to come in and talk about the task force report, some of the implications it might have.
You will be coming to us, is what you're talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So,
Along with Representative
Crecia.
He's going
Yeah.
to
Great, great.
Hopefully. He said, tentatively, he said he's planning to be here. Of course, we know the legislature's in session, and so it is challenging. So, and also, Craig Grotke from TCC was also a member of the task force. So I've invited him. I have not heard back from him yet. It was really Representative Crecia that I knew his schedule would be the most challenging given the legislative session. So we do realize that will have an impact depending on how far it goes in terms of those task force reports and recommendations. They've already changed put 2 of those task force recommendations in statute, and that is to look at the history of child protection and what was the second one? Oh, to ensure that the protection of children is the primary, goal of child protection, and so. So anyway, so those are coming forth as well, so. Other questions for Melanie on child protection?
No?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Mel.
Chair.
Have a good day.
I do, I have.
No,
one.
Commissioner Zelinski.
And Melanie, I think this just to be directed to you, because I don't think the general public has a clue. And certainly you have an office in social services, but that the team, someone from the team, is hooking up with these kids, if you will, routinely, away from this facility.
Right.
Whether it be school, whether it be, I don't care,
Yeah.
church, it doesn't matter. You're out there you're out in the community, you're not just here, is what I'm trying to say. You're not planted in the office, that this is what social work is about, this is what you do. So,
Thank you, Commissioner.
That-
Yes, we
that's
spend a lot of time in the field and mainly in families' homes and seeing, how families are dealing with the situations and the challenge that they have to deal with.
I thank you for that, that's a big deal.
Mr. Chair, if I could too.
Yes, Deb.
Commissioner Jelinski makes a good point. These are the situations that, most of us would like to forget exist in the
Exactly.
county. And I think the work of this group too always, when I have a bad day at work, I can always go over there and say, oh, yours is worse, in terms of the work that they do, the intervening they do, but they do such an excellent job, and it's such an important part of what we do. And I don't know if everybody always understands that safety net component, and our heart goes out to kids that are in situations that aren't the best. And so they intervene, and the work that those social workers do and the things that they see and then how it goes through our system is one that is so important and I think sometimes forgotten, but thank you again.
Well, and a question for you, it kind of comes to mind at this point, because I was at social services for many years, but the question is, on the way in this morning, I heard about a 3-year-old who rolled a child four-wheeler and was pinned underneath in Minnesota and was killed. And so that would entertain, there was no supervision, that would entertain, I'm sure, an investigation, and that whole process would go through in any kind of case like that, correct?
I don't know
The specifics, I understand.
Yeah.
But, given the scenario around no supervision and a child dying, more than likely, law enforcement and social services would team up to do an investigation on that.
Okay.
And when a child dies, that's the most serious of the allegations. And it requires some other activities beyond just the investigation, a child mortality review. It just brings in a lot of things in play. So it's a very tragic when a child dies.
Yes, okay, well, thank you for that. Okay. Other questions of the board for Melanie? Very good, Mel, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a good day. Correct.
All right, I have one other thing on my agenda, and that is approval to sign the business associate and security agreement between our agency and the Minnesota Department of Human Services. These agreements were developed by the County Attorneys Association in the Twin Cities and the Department of Human Services. I think the gist behind them has been the concern about the HIPAA designation that the Department of Human Services has placed upon county social services. So this is to spell out the relationship between our agency and the Department of Human Services. And I've talked with Brian a couple of times about this because data privacy is certainly important. I don't know that I have a good grasp of the understanding of this. Ultimately, our county attorney is comfortable with the language in these two documents to sign and approve. I think it does bring larger questions around our data practices requirements, our HIPAA compliance, and our HIPAA designation. And so I'll be working with our county attorney on some of those details. But ultimately, this sets forth the relationship between our agency and the Department of Human Services as it relates to if there's a data breach, how we manage the data breach, how we manage the information that we are allowed to see, that we only use it for business purposes. So it sets forth some of those things. So that's my best shot at confusing myself. And so, as I said, Brian and I have talked a couple of times, and it's a challenge to understand really what the goal of what's happening what the goal is going to be.
It is a challenge, and I don't claim to be an expert either, but these agreements really set out our responsibilities and expectations for sharing of private data, which is really important that those be set out in writing so we know what our responsibilities are. And that's what these agreements do.
Questions for Brian or Brad from the board?
A test, HIPAA.
Oh, health information portability. accuracy and confusion.
Well, you have it.
It's supposed to, it's supposed to.
You have it
yeah.
right in front of us, I saw it.
Yes, it's supposed to allow a more flexible use of health information. However, I think it's required a lot more, work.
We
Thank
have
you.
noted here, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act.
Thank you.
There we go.
And when you go to any clinic or any,
Yep.
to get any.
They used to actually give you the whole packet. Now they just give you a little thing to sign that says you understand your HIPAA rights. So,
That's right.
Mr. Chair, if I could, data practices is something, the laws are changing in all the areas of our agency and what we need to do, and we're continuing to try to stay on top of those, continuing to try to train staff so they're on top of it, continuing to make sure we're aware of what's going on and how maybe old regulations fit into newer technology and how we deal with data, and it's a complicated situation, data protection and retention issues and things of that nature, and Brian and I and department heads are working on that all the time.
So Mike Disher in IT, I think, is probably involved in the firewalls and protecting that kind of data and such. Is he involved in some of this stuff?
Well, he has a role to play.
yes, he has a
Okay.
role to play.
That's, okay, very good. Just questions, thank you. Further questions?
And Mr. Chair, do you need an approval?
Please,
Apparently
to
I'm
sign,
wrong.
to sign the agreements and send them
So
off.
moved.
Second.
Further discussion, gentlemen? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And that's all I have today. Are you
All
still
right,
coming
then.
down afterwards?
Okay, thank you.
Public health report.
Yes, oh, yes. They're
Is
looking
she
forward to
here?
it.
Yes.
No, someone's, no, I
got a
didn't know I didn't see
representation.
her.
Here.
We do have representation.
Yes.
Good morning.
Hi, Michelle.
Morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
Katie dropped this on me this morning. She's out under the weather, so,
Well, in fact, know, Michelle, you are more than qualified to handle this, because you are the expert, so I have no doubt you're good with that.
yeah. So we're just gonna give you just a quick brief of, rundown of our program from the last year and a little 6-year, history here. So the last 6 years, the Environmental Health Department of Morrison County Public Health has done, those number of inspections in both Morrison and Todd County. We're averaging, I don't know, about 135 in Todd County a year and about 220 in Morrison County a year. So,
Mr. Chair, just as a reminder, we have a contract with Todd County.
Yes.
They
Purchase
reimburse them.
services.
Yep, purchase services
Yep.
reimburses for those services.
I don't know that I've ever seen a pie chart done that way. That's pretty cool. That's really neat.
yep, so, now, for this year, our staff has completed, about 350 inspections, total inspections, and 61.8% of those were in Morrison County, and of course, 38.2 in Todd County, which is about 212 for Morrison County and 131 in Todd County this past year. So, yep. And then just versus the program areas there, again, about 160 food and beverage lodging inspections here in Morrison County versus Todd County, and then you see the breakdown there. Youth camps are very small. We have just two in Morrison County, one in Todd County, so just a few there. So again, the number of inspections for both counties this past year. Again, this is overall. We're looking for a 6-year history here. Again, staying pretty consistent through each year as with our food and beverage inspections, our lodgings staying very consistent. So we're not, we're staying on track here.
And this requires an annual inspection.
Dependent on what type of food is being served there, and how many lodging units there are. So it's either every year, every 18 months, or every 2 years, depending on type of food service. Yep.
Thank you.
And again, in Todd County, again, staying pretty consistent. We dropped a little bit in 2011, not sure why there, but again, staying consistent within Todd County too. Okay, last year, let's see, our office issued 200 program licenses. Let me pull out my chart in here. Yeah, here we go. 167 special event food stand licenses. These are the foods events that stand for our arts and crafts fair, all those little food booths for the county fairs, for any type of events that are going on through the county. We issued those temporary permits. The 200 in the purple is not so much number of wells, but about the number of water samples we tested last year in the lab. So kept us busy with that. Sanitary surveys is part of our delegated well program, where we review the wellhead and plumbing system of our establishments, making sure that there's protection for the wellhead and our water source stays safe at that establishment. 11. Oh, in the past year, we had 11 businesses either change names or ownership, so it kept us busy with just trying to stay ahead of that. And
May I ask,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, when they change ownership, do they require an inspection? Or let's say I have a business today and I sold it tomorrow, do you come and do the inspection all over again?
what we usually do, we have to relicense them, of course, as our licenses don't transfer, but we'll transfer, or we'll relicense them, and I usually do a 30-day follow-up just to see how things are going along, see if they have any questions or concerns, or, if they have, so we just do a 30-day follow-up, just to see how things are moving.
Thank you.
Yep. And then we had 3 nuisance complaints calls into the office, which usually just, at this point, weren't really a public health nuisance, and we just forward them on to the jurisdiction that is responsible for that complaint, so.
Okay, very good.
Okay?
Very good.
Is that-
Is that it?
Good
job.
I believe it is.
Any
Oh,
questions,
just,
gentlemen?
I just got a couple things.
Here we go.
Katie wanted me just to share this with you. That we had one restaurant that actually changed hands twice last year, so that was kind of interesting. So we had 3 owners in 1 year. That was in Motley, that Mr. Ed's restaurant went to Dave Dahl's Diner, then to the Spot Cafe. Molly's in Maine, in Commissioner Johnson's district, opened up after being closed for about 1.5 years, so it was good to get them opened up again under new ownership. And I think, as y'all know, our water lab is closed, so staff is working on a procedure to redo that water sample collection and still stay ahead of that. So we're gonna be looking at that and reevaluating that and see how we can be real efficient on doing that part of our program. So
Very good.
with that, just in.
So,
Thank you.
Mr.
Questions
Mr.
of the
Chair,
board?
Michelle?
Yes.
If our water lab is closed, who tests the water?
We are collecting the samples. This is, our personal ones or our establishments?
Whatever it is.
These are for our establishments with their own wells. We will collect those samples, and we are working with a lab in Brainerd and a lab in Sauk Center.
Okay.
They're contracted labs with the Department of Health, so
Okay,
it's a certified
okay.
lab doing these
Beautiful.
tests results.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if
Yes,
I could add to, just Michelle's been working very hard. We had turnover in staff, and she's our senior staff doing the health inspections, done an excellent job really at looking at the program in terms of cost effectiveness, things like the water lab that just didn't pan out to stay licensed herself, but understood that there were other venues that we could make this work at a lesser expensive option and get the work done for those establishments, because as we know, this is a delegated program. This is something that the county does not have to undertake. The state would by default have that process, but as you and previous boards have identified, it really is nice to have a local presence. It's really, the establishments appreciate it. The working relationships, our ability to be responsive for establishments that have issues is so much better locally than if we had to rely on the state for that. So we've made an attempt to keep that local, but again, being aware of the fact that it isn't something that we want to really, it's a fee-based program, making sure that those fees offset as much of that program as possible, because it is something we as a county that we don't have to do. And so Michelle's done an excellent job of that, and I really appreciate that. A lot of the turnover, she's been very forward with different ideas, training new staff coming in, getting Jamie up to speed on that and that
coming along
turnover.
real
So,
well.
I just wanted to let you know that her work and her input into that has been phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Michelle. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I am going to recess the board for a few minutes here, and we will be back. Bathroom break. We'll be back for the planning and zoning in just a moment.
problem.
Amy Kowalczyk, come on up. Morning.
Morning, Amy. Good morning, Miss Amy.
Good morning. Good morning.
You look Eastery.
I do? I am just gonna move really fast and get y'all dizzy.
We don't want that.
I have one item for you today, and this is to consider the conditional use permit request for Scenic View LLC. And as you recall, this was to expand the existing resort through the addition of 22 new campsites and the removal of 2 existing campsites in the year 2015, and then the addition of 10 additional campsites in 2020 for a net increase of 30 campsites over a 5-year period. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and they did recommend 4 conditions. I will read those. The first condition was resort owner must maintain current certificates of septic system compliance on file with the Planning and Zoning Office. That includes the pumping of the septic tanks. The empty tanks must be inspected for water tightness, including but not limited to sampling of soil surrounding the tanks, checks of the tank seals and gaskets, and a check for tank cracks.
2, the resort owner shall provide educational materials on aquatic invasive species to resort patrons that bring watercraft and shall provide for aquatic invasive species signage at the marina site. 3, land use permits must be obtained prior to construction of decks or other structure within the resort. And 4, the property owner shall arrange for the Morrison County Soil and Water Conservation District to perform a stormwater runoff evaluation and plan. The property owner shall implement and maintain the recommendations for the plan by October 31st, 2016. So that is what is before you today. I believe the applicant is here.
And can we have them come up as usual?
Absolutely.
Please come up. Morning, please identify yourself to the board.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jeff Hardy.
My name is Julie Hardy.
Morning.
We had a little bit of a development on Friday morning, and that I'd like to share with the board. I believe I informed you, but I had some conversation with the Department of Natural Resources in regards to the marina that the Hardys have, or what we understood that the Hardys have. The DNR has since had some internal discussions, and they're not sure whether or not this is a marina, whether it rises to the level of a marina, and whether or not it was ever permitted or licensed as a marina. Prior to coming up here, I was waiting by my phone, hoping to get some confirmation from the DNR, which I have not gotten yet. So if the DNR determines that what is there is not a marina and is not under the purview of the DNR for a marina, that will put the docking under the jurisdiction of the county. And so that, I feel, is a little bit of a game changer for you as a board, because as you know, at the public hearing, we had a lot of comment in regards to the docking and the boats, which we did not address because it was our understanding and confirmed by the DNR at that time that that was not under our purview. Now we're learning it may be. So I just wanted to give you an update that we have not yet heard from the DNR one way or the other, whether or not the marina is under their jurisdiction or ours.
Very good.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski.
Or if ever was, and I
Correct.
certainly don't mean to put Jeff or Julie on the spot here, and I'm certainly not trying to put you on the spot, Miss Amy. If ever was, you know, if we go to the cities today and I ride with you, I'm assuming you do have a driver's license, but I'm not gonna ask to see it. And I'm certainly not gonna ask to see if it's actually a valid driver's license. I'm just going way out on a limb here and assuming something. When you folks took over that campground, you took it over with a licensed DNR marina. Yes, no?
I've since spoke, I think his name is Zeke?
Ken Zeke.
Ken Zeke. I spoke with him just last week, and he said, and this may have changed since Friday, but he said, yes, there is in fact a permit or a license through the DNR that they have on file. I didn't ask to see it, but that was the last I heard, so this is new to me. So.
And Mr. Chair, as of Friday, they could not confirm whether or not there was one or not, so.
I did a little computer work, if you will, because one of my quick concerns is, what is a marina? And besides hearing from other people what a marina might be, and a marina might be somewhere where there's a gas station, or I should say a gas pump. I have no idea, but that's some of the material that I saw on the internet, and we all know that anything on the internet is true. I need to qualify that, just so we all know it, everything on the internet is true. So if that's a fact, and then it's also that docking is pretty much a public issue at a marina. So in other words, if I'm floating around on the water and I need to, for whatever reason, dock my boat at the marina, that's just what you do. It's a marina. But I don't know if any of that's true. And one of my concerns is, and we're addressing it, I got that, I understand that because we're waiting for DNR. So they say that it is a licensed DNR marina. I need to know what is a licensed DNR marina. What is it? Is it a dock, 2 docks, 5 docks, a long hose that we can get fuel, an access to go up and get an ice cream. I just wanna know. And I think it's important. I think that's a very valid question.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think
Yes, Amy.
what the DNR was grappling with was Marina needs to offer some ancillary service to the public. And there is not a gas pump there. And typically, that's usually what most people think of as far as providing something to the public. Another one is providing mooring space to the public, someone not utilizing the resort. That is not the case here. But they do, on occasion, will have somebody come, dock, come up, grab an ice cream and go back.
Yep.
Is that enough of a public interface? And that is the question, I guess, that the DNR is shaking through, that we have not gotten an answer on as of yet. So it's really, that's what rises it to the level of Marina, is if there is some ancillary public service that is offered. So.
Okay.
Other questions for the board? Okay, is it Jeff?
Permission to speak, yes.
Jeff.
The issue of you know, what we brought before you today is whether or not we can expand the resort. The marina is not even in question, is whether or not we can expand it or not. What it is, what we might find out it to be, shouldn't impact what we're here to talk about today.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to add that I believe it does. It does fall under the scope because we look at resorts and campgrounds are considered a commercial planned unit development. We do have standards for docking there. Had we known that the docking was under our purview, I certainly would have run a docking calculation to see if what they had now is compliant. We certainly would have heard the comments regarding the docking and have dug into those a little bit more. And it would have allowed the Planning Commission and the board to have some thoughtful consideration about conditions that might address the docking situation there. None of that we were able to do because we were under the understanding that it wasn't under our purview.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So when you're saying a public or a landing where everybody can use it, you mean like the public landing? So if Joe Schmo wanted to come in and use the landing, that would be a DNR one? Is that correct?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
that's what we're waiting on.
I
from
mean,
the
no, I
DNR.
mean, no, for an example, like, if somebody uses the public access on the other side of the lake, is that considered a DNR?
Not a marina.
Not a marina?
No, marina is the docking, is the mooring
docking
of
part of it.
boats.
I understand, so the
Correct.
whole landing part of it, okay, that's what I
Yes.
needed to.
And I believe with the
Yeah, no, fair
members of
question.
the board, and Amy, I believe with a marina, there's requirements that make it constitute a marina. You have to offer certain services that qualify it as a marina. So it's in definitions, I'm sure, so, and that's what we don't know about.
So may I ask one more question?
Yes.
Just as an example, so Sweetwater Resort is at the very end of our road, and they have docks. Are they like
Mr. Chair, they
DNR?
are not a
I'm sorry,
marina.
Mr. Chair. They are not considered a
No.
marina? They are, okay,
So we
that's
have
what-
jurisdiction over their docking.
I understand, okay, that's what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions of the Hardys for the board? Commissioner Wilson?
I've got a question for Amy, I think. What would be I mean, if it was a marina, classified as a marina versus not, and the docks have been there for years. So what would be different? I mean, the docks that are there are full. So if you added more boats or whatever, you couldn't add any more because it's already full. Am I correct on that? And there's public access there, there's docking, so people up in the campground could dock a boat, use it for the day, take it back out. But the marina is already full. So what determination would make any difference?
Mr. Chair, when we're determining the extent of docking in a planned unit development, it's a calculation that we
Right.
go through, which we have not gone through because the understanding was this was a marina under DNR purview and not under our jurisdiction. We certainly would have looked at the number of allowable docking areas and whether expansion could even occur to that, because they can certainly put some offshoots of docking there to make more mooring space. Our understanding up till this point was that that was under DNR licensing and permitting. Now we're finding out it may not be, and so we have simply not addressed that at all, because when it's a marina, that moves out of our planned unit development standards. So we certainly would be looking at if the mooring spaces are more than what would be allowed with a PUD, then there might be some conditions on that to cap it. But if a conditional use permit is granted now, we can't go back and open it up and say, okay, now we want to address the docking and put some conditions on it. It doesn't work that way. And so if a conditional use permit is granted without consideration of that, then that's an issue.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
So
Commissioner
in
Wilson.
other words, if they wanted to add any more docks, they would not have to come before the board or anybody to add docks right now? Even if it was a marina?
Mr. Chair, I can't answer that because I have not run the calculation. I don't even know. So if what they were looking at providing was within their allowed docking area based on the calculation for what they've got, no, they would not. But if it's not, or if it's over, or something's wrong with it, then we'd be looking at a variance in order to do that. But we want to be addressing those things on the front end. If we know we have an issue, we haven't been given the opportunity to even run the calculation or even know. And who knows, it might still be a DNR marina, but we don't know that at this point.
Are there questions, Mike?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that is not the issue today, though, is it? I mean, having more campsites, wouldn't the docking be a whole other issue?
No,
Or not?
I disagree,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
and this is the reason why. If I knew going into this that we were dealing with the docking, just like I ran the impervious surface calculation, the density calculation, I would have looked at the docking. And if it was over or not right, I would not have brought this forward to you for consideration. They would have needed to go through a variance process first to fix the docking issue if it was under our jurisdiction, which at that point I understood it was not. So we would have addressed this whole facility, and that would have determined whether or not they were eligible to bring forward an application, had I known that this may be under our jurisdiction instead. If you want to add anything.
And if, as Amy said previously, if you want to add conditions to address any issues with the docking, you can't go back and fix it later if we find out that we did have control over that area. So once the CUP is granted, it's granted as is. You can't go back and fix it.
An additional docking wouldn't necessarily be under the purview of opening up a CUP again.
And let me clarify here, so if they would happen to be over based on the comp study that you do, okay, then they would either have to remove those boats or come for a variance. That's the way it would be set up, because then we would have the control mechanisms in place that validate that.
And that would never be grandfathered in, all the years that it's been there?
With a variance, it would.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, how we address that is if you have a nonconformity, so say they weren't asking to expand, we wouldn't be addressing it. But when you expand, that's when we're looking at your entire operation, and that's the trigger to bring you into compliance. Just like a feedlot, when you jump tiers, that's when you have to meet all the setbacks. Same thing with resorts. We're gonna look at, do you meet the current standards now? And if you don't, we need to be doing something to get you in compliance before you can expand. And that process didn't happen because our understanding was that the docking was a marina under the DNR, which we don't have a say in.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have a copy of the ordinance. I don't know, it's highlighted if anybody wants to read it. I can share it with you.
Regarding, and what is this regarding before you send it through?
This is regarding what
ordinance
the
meeting.
Morrison County ordinance would require. And
Well, and I just as soon hand that to Amy for her
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
interpretation.
is that I can read it is what I was going to, but I want her to tell me that's.
We would also be applying section 800, which is the planned unit development standards. And that, I think, has some other language in there. But that's where we would be, but this also would apply. And it does, you're permitted a maximum of one dock per 120 feet of shoreland. And one dock to service the needs of the resort caretaker. And then that the dock area can't exceed 700 square feet, including walkways and the use of fingers and T-rail. We haven't evaluated to know if this is compliant or not. And then we also would be applying section 800 with this, which is the planned unit development standards, in concert with this.
Mr. Chair, Amy, I'll give you a loaded question. What do you think the time frame would be for the DNR to weigh in on?
I was hoping by 10 a.m. this morning.
And they knew this was kind of priority. They knew that this probably, so now is it gonna take a week, a month?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't know what it means to have internal discussion with the DNR, but I know this was being run up the flagpole up to St. Paul. And so, they have acknowledged that two different hydrologists over the years have confirmed with the county that this is a marina. They've acknowledged that they've given us that information. So I would hope in fairly short order, but we're at the mercy of another agency to make that decision.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, and I'm not one, believe me, to kick the can down the road, but we have a few too many unanswered questions here, and I believe we have like 60 days or something like that to table this until then. 'Cause I personally, I would need that information, because you're right, and unfortunately for them, if it's a docking, now we've got, they could actually be out of compliance right now if it's a docking. So then what are they gonna do? Are they gonna have to take the dock out, or, add more space? I don't know, that's a big question like you've been bringing up. Another key thing would be that if it is a docking, then how do they determine how many boats? Just because you have campsites does not mean they bring in boats, does it? So could you give me an idea how they determine, not the calculation type,
Are you asking me how we would calculate the number of mooring sites?
Yeah.
It's based on the number of allowable units within the first tier of the resort,
Okay.
is how we determine that.
That answers that question.
Other questions or concerns, gentlemen?
Commissioner, or
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
It would be not proper if I didn't comment. And when I say that, I believe that we have all gotten phone calls, good or bad, right, wrong, indifferent, it doesn't matter. And for the sake of argument, and emails, I actually wrote down some things here that are concerns to perhaps the general public, maybe to me, maybe to this board. And I've got a couple of questions that I've got that are my own here. And I'm wondering if it'd be okay if I address those.
I would sure encourage you to do that, Commissioner.
And I'm just gonna run through them.
That would be fine.
Concerns, campers trespass. Oh my word almighty, and they may. Law enforcement issue. Golf carts on a township road, absolutely illegal. Law enforcement issue. Litter, both on the roadway, in the lake. Folks, law enforcement DNR issue. Pedestrian traffic, everyone's issue. Speed limit on the roadway, it starts at 20 and about a block down the road, maybe 2 blocks, I don't know. It's 30 miles an hour. That is township, period, and I understand that, I'm very clear of it. I received an email, and Amy, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot on this one because I have no clue. MPCA guidelines require a permit if you exceed 10,000 gallons per day for a single entity.
Mr. Chair, yep, that's in regards to the septic system.
Okay,
So if you have a septic system that's designed to treat more than 10,000 gallons a day, you would need that. Their systems aren't designed for that and don't rise to that level.
so I don't have to go any further with that. Traffic congestion, especially on weekends, that's a concern. No speed control and increased boat traffic, concerns. Questions. I'm not gonna beat up that marina any longer, because that's one of my questions. will adding campsites alone, which is what is requested here from Jeff and Julie, will it really cause a negative effect? Will campsites alone cause a negative effect? Can the township road handle the traffic? If I've heard it once, I've heard it a lot of times. The road can't handle what is there today. That's a township issue, it's not mine. Overuse of the lake. I've heard that one a lot. Who, if anyone, makes that determination? There's a public access on that lake that I'm very familiar with, and I've been on the lake several times, but not for quite a few years. Who makes a determination if I can come on that lake? Not if I can use your access, that's not what I'm trying to say. Not if I can hook up to your dock, that's not what I'm trying to say. If the lake is being overused, who makes the decision that nobody else can use that lake? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I think it's a question. Is there a good neighbor policy, such as when we're dealing with a hog barn, there's a good neighbor policy that we're gonna spread manure on every other Thursday, or whatever it might be. Is there a good neighbor policy here that says, you know what, as campground owners, we are going to participate in a hog roast once a year? Make it up, I don't care what it is. We're gonna participate in keeping the lake clean. I don't know, conditions, maybe, I'm just asking. It's a bit hard for me to believe that everything that goes on negatively on Fish Trap Lake is due to this resort, or due to resort expansion, because I clearly believe that's not true. I floated that lake many times. Might I be guilty of throwing a cigarette butt in the lake? I don't smoke anymore. But I may have. Might I be guilty of having a paper plate that flew off of my pontoon? I may have. I'm not a camper, but I'm guilty, because it may have happened to me. I would then ask the question, is it proper to ask for a discretionary environmental assessment worksheet, which might or might not, I don't know the answer to that either, which might or might not answer the questions that I believe need to be answered one way or the other? Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
Yes. Other comments from the
Yeah,
board?
I guess, you know, those are all good points and valid points. Maybe if Mr. Junsky wants to move forward on this permit, then we can start having a debate here, but I think we're spinning our wheels here if we do not want to move forward, and that would be addressed, because I'm sure these are a lot of good questions, but I'm gonna take on Amy's side that she thinks that we should probably wait till the DNR, and she's the professional on this here, and I'm gonna take what she says. So if we want to start a debate on all these questions, I'm open for that too, but then I feel that we should move forward on this permit. But then, like Mr. Middendorf said, that then once we issue this permit, we can't go back and change anything or anything like that. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Johnson or Commissioner Wilson? All right, now we can do this, and we can check out the resort, wait for the DNR to weigh in. Okay, we can do that, all right? But there's a lot of other very significant issues involved in this. It isn't just about whether they have a marina license or not. There's a whole bunch of other issues here, all right? If you gentlemen review our comprehensive plan and our water plan, there are many reasons in here based on these plans developed by many people from the county, including lake owners associations, about issues that really need to be looked at, all right? One including the Long Prairie River, the Crow Wing River, and the Mississippi River are considered to be impaired waters. Fish Trap Lake flows into the Long Prairie River. And in our water plan, it makes it very specific that we should not degrade the resources anymore, all right? So I encourage you to read this in the time we're waiting, but there's some other issues here, okay? All of these issues need to be addressed, I believe, in an environmental assessment. I think that's very important. We're requiring one of the new requests out in Harding, out on Sullivan Lake. I mean, we're looking at an expansion here. We're looking at major opposition from the lake owners, okay? From the lake owners, from the Lake Improvement District, all right? From the township, okay? And I'm gonna share with you right now, Glenn Borgstrom waited here for, or is it Dale or Glenn? Dale? Dale waited here until we recessed, and he had to be at another meeting, He said that the Scandia Valley Town Board is not in support of this, okay? The road cannot handle and is overutilized at this point, and the road cannot handle more traffic. And this, if we put this on hold, okay, for the 30 to 60 days, whatever it is, it will give the township a chance to weigh in and provide us with a letter, okay, to that fact, all right? Also, these other issues really need to be addressed about water quality and about concerns that we have. So there are other issues, and I can tell you this. I mean, if these issues are not resolved with this board, when it comes to that, I will as well as, and support Commissioner Jelinski in requesting an environmental impact statement, and that's then gonna postpone this indefinitely. Why not get it all done now? Why not do it in coordination? That would be my suggestion, because there's too many unresolved issues. And if we do not follow our comprehensive plan and our water plan, we open ourselves up to a lawsuit, I believe, from the Lake Owners Association, from the township, from the LID, who we establish and support. So we really need to take a look at this water plan and read it, and this comprehensive plan that really refers back to the water plan many times. The water, or the topography out there and the soil types are one of the most vulnerable sandy soil types there are. And so you really need to look at all this stuff, because there's enough data and enough stuff just in these plans that were developed by the county board, by Dwayne and the previous commissioners. Also, I spoke with Helen yesterday for an hour and a half out at Soil and Water. It's really important that we take a look at what the previous county boards have done in developing these plans, okay? The Swan River was a heavily impaired water out in Dwayne's district, and it is almost clean with very little impairment now, and that's because of all the work that was done from Soil and Water. Now, if we pollute or overutilize the lakes up in the top end of the chain that feeds into the Long Prairie, the Crow Wing, and the Mississippi, and as a member of the Mississippi Headwaters Board, that concerns me. We really need to be aware of those resources and protecting those resources. So we have enough concern and discontent and enough issues that have been shared. Several business owners called me, 2 of whom own property on the lake, that want more business, but they see that the lake is overutilized now, and they're concerned about that. Remember, I went for my 2-mile run this morning, and I ran 2 miles in about 16 and a half minutes. This lake is 2 miles long by a mile wide. It is not a lot of surface area. It looks bigger because we got islands, but it is not. We got 2 major resorts and 1 smaller resort on this lake, plus all the locals who pay enough taxes. So we really need to do our due diligence in checking all these issues out and being sure that this complies with the plans that we have. These aren't, and I think I heard Commissioner Winter say last week, we didn't have these plans done to put them on a shelf and not utilize them.
Mr. Jelinski said that.
Oh, okay, was that Commissioner Jelinski? I apologize. Yeah. So those are my concerns. If we're gonna extend it, let's address it and have these things done so that we have all of our ducks in a row.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
Amy, might I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
What would we, the county, Jeff and Julie, thank you, hope to gain by having a discretionary EAW done? Can you answer that? And then if you can answer that, who does it?
Mr. Chair, the scope of an EAW would be the expansion, and if the docking is under our jurisdiction, then it can, the scope of it could be broadened to more of a lake study as far as the impact of the immediate lake area there. Typically, a consultant is hired to do that, and it is the applicant's requirement to provide the information for the EAW. Typically, people will hire a consultant to do that and assemble that, and then it is submitted to the county. The county reviews and determines whether it's complete or not, and then from there we notice. There's within rule there's many agencies that need to be noticed. It needs to be noticed for 30 days. The board can choose to have a public hearing or not, and then you make a positive or negative declaration on the environmental assessment worksheet. Go ahead.
But with that, the Hardys are correct. They are not applying for water. They're applying for 20 additional campers. Mm-hmm. What does it address? Does it address campers? Does it address the road? I don't know the answer. Does it address the road? Does it address water? Does it address overuse, and as I said earlier, who makes that determination that the lake is being overused? It's not gonna be me, I don't think, but maybe it is.
Mr. Chair, the purpose of an environmental assessment worksheet is to look at environmental impacts. So it's not gonna be the capacity of the road, it's not going to be, so it's gonna look at runoff, soils, impacts to the lake. Those are the kinds of things that it's going to look at, whether or not it'll degrade any natural resources. That's what an EAW is set up to do. And then from there, if you order an EAW, that stays all of the proceedings. So then the 60-day time limit that the county normally would have to make a decision doesn't exist. Because when you've got an EAW on the table, that stays all proceedings until the outcome of the EAW is known.
So once the EAW is completed, the EAW comes back to this board.
Correct.
For this board to agree or disagree with?
Correct. Well, it's not really to disagree. It really, what it is for you to make a decision on whether the information within that is adequate enough to say, yep, this is not gonna have, we have enough information to make a decision.
Okay.
If you feel that you don't, then if you make a negative declaration, then that automatically triggers an environmental impact statement, which is a much more involved study, and the EAW serves as the scoping document for the EIS.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Johnson?
And Amy, how long does the worksheet take about?
It depends on how you do it and who you hire to do it. We have one that we've been waiting on for a year, but that's just because there hasn't been any movement on it, so it really depends on who you
And
hire.
what's the cost, if I may, Chair?
Mr. Chair, it depends on if you hire a consultant or you do it yourself. I wouldn't.
$100, $500? I don't know.
The fee to the county
Yes.
is $300, and that's for our review and our noticing and all of that. But whatever you would pay an outside consultant would be above and beyond that, and that is the applicant's
I
responsibility.
think they're fairly expensive.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
I have a question for Amy. Amy, is one, in the format that we're asking for this expansion, are we required to have this done?
Question. Very good question. When the application came forward, I had to evaluate whether or not a mandatory EAW was required, because the number of sites that they are proposing does trip a mandatory EAW category. However, the caveat within the Environmental Quality Board rules is the open space ratio that they have made it where a mandatory EW was not required. But I certainly evaluated on the front end whether or not they were tripping a mandatory category. The number of sites was, but the amount of open space they have did not require one. So no, they're not required. That's not mandatory for them.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a
Discretionary.
discretionary EAW.
Correct.
Which is then ordered, if you will, by the board.
Correct. And Mr. Chair, you
Which is
have
two
the
different
ability to
things.
do that if they're not tripping a mandatory category or otherwise exempted. For example, feedlots are exempted, which we've learned. Then you have the ability to order a discretionary EW.
So let's pretend that
Go
we.
ahead, I'm sorry, Jerry.
Excuse me.
No, I'm sorry.
Let's pretend that we put this off for 60 days, let's just, as an example. Do you think that we would answer those questions by ourselves? Or do you think that if we put this off for 60 days and didn't answer those questions, we can't order a discretionary EAW at that point in time? I don't think, because I think after 60 days, which I think the board has the okay to put it off on, I have to ask you again, Amy, after those 60 days, then action has to be taken, am I correct?
Well, if you're working under continuance, then you'll be bumping up against the 60-day. But anywhere in there, and this might be a better question for Mr. Middendorf, as far as anywhere in there, if you order that stays all proceedings. That's my understanding of how that works.
I think that's the case, but I'll have to double check in the meantime. However, it sounds like continuance is being recommended here. I would recommend it to the board. We have 60 days. No one wants to kick this down the road, but we don't want to make a quick decision without thinking of everything, and so I would certainly recommend a continuance.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wilson.
I guess I'm trying to figure out why this wants to be delayed any longer, except for what Amy said about the marina. The EAW, I can understand that if we're building a new campground and so forth. This campground's been in effect for a long time. All my emails and everything direct to, I don't want any more boats on the lake and the people driving on the road. I understand the road situation. The boat situation, I understand some, but with the public access there, I can't say that it's this fault or whatever. I think we should proceed with, except for the fact that Amy's thing with the marina. That'd be my question. Otherwise, this other stuff should have come up a long time ago. Not at this point in time.
Well, and members of the board and Commissioner Wilson, I disagree with you, and this is why I disagree with you. This plan, I asked you this earlier, and I'm gonna ask the rest of the board members here. Have you read our water plan? I've read it now 3 times. I used that water plan and the comprehensive plan when it came to the requested turkey barns out in the confluence of the 2 branches of the Little Rock Creek, which is an impaired waterway. We have a lake that sits right above the Long Prairie River that flows into the Long Prairie, which is impaired. And we're gonna increase utilization without doing our due diligence and researching this stuff? I mean, that's why we are here today as a board, to question this and to put things in place to ensure we have satisfied all of these constituents and all of the people that have contacted us, that we are doing what we need to do before we go forward with it. So, I mean, I encourage you to read this stuff. I mean, I really do, because it's very important, because the whole county plan and the water plan refer to this issue. And this isn't about these 2 people. Everything I heard about how they run their business, in fact, our sheriff said he was there 2 years ago, very much complimentary about your business, okay, and how you run your business. So I'm not hearing any of the negative stuff. I kind of throw that out and this out. The bottom line is that this water plan and comprehensive plan dictate. And look at the people who pull this together and all of the entities that were involved in this. Now, if you want to take this and throw it on the shelf and throw it out, we're just in the process of revising it, you know, of our water plan. Why do that? Let's not waste the money.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for my thing, it does not dictate what we do. The ordinance tells us what we have to do. This is a big umbrella under the whole county. And yes,
Water plan
I
is
did
more
look at that.
specific.
No, I only understood 10% of it,
Yeah.
but that's how I am. So it's a water plan, it's an ordinance that gives the county a guidance. It does not dictate us. Our ordinances tell us what we should do and should not do. And again, it's a living, breathing document, so it's, that we're doing it right now. My question again is going back to Mr. Wilson, is this, you say discretion. Well, whose discretion is it? If someone we hire or someone does it, it's their discretion, it's their idea. Well, you know what, maybe I don't like their idea, you know, or, so it's, again, it's still something that there's no teeth into it, you know, it's just a matter of my opinion versus your opinion, Mr. Chair. So when somebody says it's my discretion, well, okay, I agree with it or I don't agree with it. I am totally against an EAW, totally against it, because it takes too long. It's a control thing, and I despise having less or more and more control for people. You know, we want to try to move on, make it easier for businesses or not, but this EAW is, and again, when you say the water flows into Long Prairie, you know, there's, and I don't want to get into this debate because I just don't think it's time for that right now.
Mr. Chair, why didn't you bring that up 2 weeks ago at the planning commission when everybody
It
was?
wasn't before us. It was before the planning commission. It was not before us, it was before the planning commission.
Are you talking EAW or the water
The
plan?
water plan, that's,
Can I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Speak? You know, you obviously have strong feelings about this, and I get it. You know, we're not nickel mining and dropping tailings, you know, into the lake here. You know, I've volunteered in this community as a first responder for many years. Middle of the night, show up to help these people if they need help. I've been a member of the executive board of the Lake Association. I'm a member of the LABA, donated food to the food shelf in the area. Walk for Diabetes, my wife raises $1,200 a year for that, give or take. We donate to the Salvation Army, we tithe to our church. And I know this isn't a character thing, but you know what? When the economy has kicked people for so long, and we're finally seeing a little bit of light where we can, maybe expand and meet the demands that are out there, that's like telling Peg, you know what, you can only sell 100 gallons of gas today. Some of that gas that's being put into boat motors might end up on the lake. Or, Larry, you're only gonna sell 5 boats this year, because you know what, Fish Trap can't handle it. You don't know that.
And Mr. Chair, again, I'd like to meet like a restaurant. What's the capacity? Okay, you can put 100 people in the restaurant, but that's not gonna happen, So there's no capacity for boats or anything on a lake, whether it's Mille Lacs Lake or, Cedar Lake, that's unfortunate, but it's just hard to gauge that, again, my opinion.
I guess Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I guess, Amy, I still gotta go back to your discussion with the DNR, because I'm not exactly sure what to do in that situation. If they come back and say it's a marina or it's not a marina, you're saying that if it's not a marina, then we have to do a variance for our plans if it doesn't meet our plans, even though it's been there forever.
Mr. Chair, if they want to move forward with expansion.
If they just leave it the way it is, then there is, so.
Not expanding. Okay. I brought up an issue from the township supervisor, okay? He said the Scandia Valley Town Board is not in favor of it because of the overuse of the road at this point as well. That is another issue I really believe you need to consider.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
for that comment alone, why haven't they met?
he was
Why
here.
didn't they have a letter here from, I mean, I would think that we would need documentation from the town board stating that.
And that's why-
Otherwise, it's no different than anybody else saying anything here.
They were not at the dirt
May I-
meeting, they were
yes.
not at the planning commission meeting.
And not to belittle that, but I mean, there's been a process that everybody's gone through. And if they weren't there, they must not have cared until they got a lot of heat on the situation. So, okay, I'll move on.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Amy, were they invited to both
Yes.
meetings?
Yes,
The
they were.
DRT meeting and the last meeting that
Yes.
both people were invited to those things?
The
DNR,
town board.
The
Yes.
DNR and
Yes.
the town board were both invited to
Yes.
both things?
Mhm.
We came to neither.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
I mean, I have never felt so blindsided in my life. A phone call Friday when we found out that, there was issues with the marina would have been nice. I would have had an opportunity to maybe respond with the DNR. Everything, all the comments and everything were answered at our last meeting. All of these issues that are coming up now certainly should have been addressed at that time. This is a project that is supported by Representative Ron Kresha, who would have been here in support of this had he not been in session. Chuck Salter, the Lake Association president, has invited every one of our guests to join the Lake Association. Am I saying he endorses it? No, but he certainly isn't here not approving of this
Mr. Chair,
process.
if I may comment on that one. That one, I disagree with you on that, because the fact that we as a board here, I think we'd all do a great job of getting informed decisions here. So just because it wasn't brought up at that time, we, over the next week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, we were getting hit from both sides of other information, and, if we want to make a quick decision, whether it's right or wrong, I am against that, and again, if it wasn't brought up at the EAW, maybe it's just something that was missed, so, and again, that's why me personally, I like all the information. I liked all the information we got from the residents out there, but there's other information, and I personally want to make the right decision, what's best for the county. That's how I
Mr.
look.
Chair,
yes, Amy.
we were blindsided by the DNR as well on Friday afternoon. What turned out to my inquiry on just what exactly a marina is turned into, we're not exactly sure that is a marina. And trying to shake that out with them and get as much factual information as we could prior was difficult. And I'm still waiting on information. So I apologize, I probably should have called you, but we were certainly blindsided by
You were
it too and
hopeful
not
that you'd
expecting
call.
it. I was hopeful I would have
Yeah.
information and I could communicate that to everybody.
And you have no idea when you'll get
No,
the
just,
DNR.
wait, please. Well, and I'd like to respond to your saying that Commissioner, or our Representative Ron Kresha supports this. I personally spoke with Ron Kresha, and he was not willing to support it or not support it in my personal contact with him. I saw him, where did I see him at? Oh, at the
Saw him
chili
at the
cook.
ballroom.
At the ballroom, and he did not support it or not support it to me, and he knew. And he basically told me that when people are calling him with concerns about this, okay, he's referring them to their county commissioners. And that's what he told me. I don't know if he talked to anyone else, but that's what he told me. So, I mean, he did not say to me he supported it, and if that were the case, I would hope that because of the other side of that story, if you get a letter in support from him to support it or not, that would be a part of this holding off period as well, if indeed he is supporting it. I would like to know that, so.
I mean,
Yes, yes.
can I ask another question? What would happen if we would approve the campground, make a motion to approve the campground with stipulation that if anything happened to the marina, it would have to come before the board as far as growing or not growing or this or that? Would that be an option? I mean, people are worried about more boats. If the marina is full now, it's always full. So full is full. Any other boats that are gonna come in would be using public access or they use your access, but that can happen anywhere. If we would, that the marina cannot expand without coming to a hearing or whatever, is that a possibility? And how would that affect the marina thing that the DNR's got?
Mr. Chair, and I'm gonna ask Brian to tell me if I'm not speaking correctly. I don't believe you can require someone to seek a conditional use permit for something that we would not require a conditional use permit. I don't believe you can make that a condition.
Yeah, we can't give out contingent, conditional use permits. That's just not appropriate, and so really we need to make an informed decision with all the information at this time. And if we don't have all the information that you think is important, then I really think the thing to do is to continue it until you have the information that you feel you need to make the right decision.
Commissioner Zelinski.
Mr. Chair, I did not see the township official from Scandy Valley, Mr. Borgstrom, I believe.
Yes, he was here.
And I believe I heard what you said.
Yeah.
And that being that the road can't handle what it is today.
Yeah.
Without adding anything more. I certainly would like to see a letter from the township. I certainly would like to see an answer to the marina. And I would make a motion that this thing be delayed for, I don't know how to go about doing this, for the 60-day period. Is that the right?
Up to the 60, is that what you're saying?
I don't know how that's done.
Well, a delay is a delay, so the 60 is the max.
I do have one more
Up to
question.
60 days?
Up to 60.
Is it up to days? I would make that motion.
And I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Now, further discussion from the board, and then I will come to you.
I guess that I would maybe agree with that just to get clarification from the DNR. But I would also feel like if we got clarification from the DNR that that's not our issue, then I believe that this should be brought to the next board meeting after that time. That's just my thinking on that.
Okay.
Because that's the only issue I have right now, is your marina
The marina.
thing. And I don't know what to do on that. I wouldn't have the issue. I feel like I could vote for that as long as it couldn't grow, because that's what's there today.
Commissioner Zelinski?
Mr. Chair, very often you or someone else refers to our or your background. I'm gonna refer to my background. My background is public safety. Yes, sir, my background is public safety communications. I worked for law enforcement for 30-some-odd years. if the Scandia Valley Town Board is going to tell me they are going to deem, help me out, guys, Fish Trap Lake Drive? Fish Trap Lake Drive unsafe, if that is what they are going to tell me through a letter, there is absolutely no way in this creation that I can support something that's unsafe. I apologize to you folks for that, but I can't support something that's not safe.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I feel like if a letter would come to tell me that the road's not safe, then they should make the road safe.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, I mean, if they want to
You're
put
right.
something in documentation that says the road's not safe, then they should come with a plan to make the road safe. That's just my
They're the road
opinion.
authority, so.
That's-
And in my last, again, I'd say last two, but the input, yeah, I don't, if, I just wanna know whether the DNR weighs in hopefully in 60 days, you know, but as soon as we hear from them, I'd like to bring it again to, and then, once we know that, then we can move forward.
You're saying to the next board meeting
Yep, it's-
after
well,
we
what-
hear
Right, so if
from
it
the
comes,
DNR?
you're right, you know, so I wanna,
Okay.
I don't want to wait 60 days
right.
if we hear tomorrow from the
Right.
DNR.
Right.
So,
However, I believe, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
However, I believe that the motion is for the 60-day period, if that's what's needed to be. I don't know that we can just say, well, if we get the answer for this piece to the puzzle, then it's done. I'm not sure. And I would look to Brian for that.
The motion was for up to 60 days.
Up to 60 days for information from the township on the road and certainly for the marina business, at the very, very least.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor.
I still got
Further discussion.
Please explain to me what up to 60 days. I mean, I think I know what up to means, but does that mean it could happen at the next board meeting if we got the information, or does that mean we wait the 60 days?
Mr. Chair, maybe if Amy could, how have we done this before when we continued it? Maybe an example of how we typically proceed?
Well, Mr. Chair, you get one opportunity to continue, and you can continue it up to 60 days. If you're not sure how long any of that is going to take, it's always advisable to continue it for 60 days for the maximum amount that you can. And certainly, if we have everything shaken out prior or a decision made, then we place it on an agenda when we're ready to make the decision. And it needs to be within 60 days, but we have the right to take 60 days, is how that works.
I do have one question for Amy.
Well, just,
Oh, I'm sorry, she's finishing.
okay.
Okay.
So just a second,
Hold on.
anything?
Yeah,
Commissioner?
Amy, when you say up to 60 days, but we have the right to say, okay, you know what, we maybe have to take a vote on it or something like that, we want to move it forward in 2 weeks, the next board meeting, that's also an option, correct?
Mr. Chair, normally when we're dealing with a continued item, we're gonna be having some discussion at planning sessions and all of that, and when the board feels they have everything, then we're placing that on the agenda.
That's all I've heard answer, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now, you requested to
I
speak
have
to
a
this.
question.
Yes.
Amy, I just wanted to ask you how it went, before you were so sure it was from the DNR, the marina. Where is that, where did that come from? Where did
Yeah.
that, where is the confusion of which one it was?
Fair question.
Where you looked it up, how, is it some information that we have by looking at our, anything that we have that we could look at?
Certainly. A few years ago, the prior owner had inquired to the county about possible expansion. At that time, I engaged the area hydrologist that was in the position, and what he had told me, no, this is a licensed marina, because there was some question as far as why we had shoreline commercial zoning there. And he said, no, it's a licensed marina, it's under our jurisdiction. And so a prior area hydrologist had told me that that's how that would work. The expansion never came forward.
So if we got a hold of scenic lodging, would that be information that they would have? If it was a marina or not?
Perhaps they should have some, if they applied for a permit, they should have it.
Okay.
And then that was confirmed then also when we had our dirt meeting, we were talking about whether that was a marina or not. And I confirmed with the area hydrologist that was there, and he confirmed, yes, that's a marina, that will be under our jurisdiction. So that is where I got my information from.
But then, so then when did it change?
Good question. I found out about it Friday afternoon, that they were having some internal discussion as
From
to
the
whether,
DNR, you mean?
yes.
I understand. Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
Mr. Mr. Chair.
Yes,
I
Commissioner
mean,
Wilson.
the only thing that changed here is nobody can provide you documentation for what they're saying.
That's correct.
So that's what you're looking for, is the documentation that this is a marina. Everybody thought it was, and it may be, but nobody can hand you documentation. That's why you've been going on what you said, because you got the information from them, and then when you ask for the paperwork.
They're not
they
able
can't-
to produce it at the
That's right.
moment.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
With that, Marina, I still beg the question from the DNR, what is a DNR licensed marina? Well, I mean, we're still begging that question.
Well, Mr. Chair, it's kind of funny because that's exactly what I called to get on Friday afternoon, and then they said, oh,
What do you mean?
might not be one.
Well, I hope
So-
they put a fire under them, someone does.
Well, and my question is, it's really odd to me that as new, well, you've been there a couple, well, you ran it for 11 years, right, before you bought it? Or a number of years, and as new owners, wouldn't that be a part of the contract or the agreement when you buy it that shows on your deed that it is a licensed marina or something that would say that? I don't know, I'm wondering, isn't something given to the owner that says you are a licensed marina and what that entails?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like the opportunity to call Scenic Lodging after we're done with this meeting to find this permit and hopefully provide some documentation.
That would be.
That's what we.
Okay.
Further discussion, gentlemen? We have a recommendation on the floor to table this for up to 60 days. Commissioner Wilson.
Okay,
Or
my
Commissioner
question,
Johnson, I apologize.
up to 60 days, or when we get the information?
Which I think is a part of that, the 30 to 60 or whatever it is, or however long it is a part of when we gather the information.
Okay.
And we will discuss that in planning session, whatever,
Okay.
to determine when we've had enough information to feel that we can make a vote.
I just
Commissioner
have
Wilson?
another question, and in that there, we're not asking for an EAW or nothing, correct? I'm not part of that there, so. Jeff, is that?
Right, Jeff made the
No?
motion.
Okay.
No,
No
we didn't.
EAW
Okay.
that I said.
Okay.
I just want to clarify to make sure I understand it right.
Other questions of the board? I know we have a number of people here from the public, okay? And I know some of you have not had a chance to weigh in either at the planning commission meeting or at this meeting today. I would like to encourage you all to talk with your Lake Owners Association, the LID, as well as if the DNR, if you need, and your township regarding what their concerns are, if any, and get that to the board, so we have that to know what that is about. So if there's anyone here that really feels a need to talk, we sure can, entertain that for maybe 3 minutes, but
And Mr. Chair. if
just
I
a
may-
second, okay?
But this
Okay.
has to pertain to that.
Yeah.
If it comes back as a docking, then we could request a public hearing again.
Or we can request a public hearing either way, whether it's docking or not. I believe the board has a right to do that anytime, correct, Brian?
Yes, you certainly can have more than one public hearing.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Are we all good, gentlemen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. What is the next on your agenda? Coffee? Okay, let's do a coffee break. This has been well over an hour.
Amy, typically we can have Jeff be in contact with the applicant in terms of when we do.
Yeah, here we go. Come on up.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here for Glenn again.
I don't know why I'm looking
Okay.
for Glenn.
You are so much better looking. And you can tell him that.
And we don't, don't tell him that. No.
She likes coming in to see us.
I
Okay.
do, I don't mind.
Good morning.
Should I wait until?
Go ahead. Mike's here.
Mike's here.
Okay, hopefully this will be a little,
Less intense?
yeah, a little less
would hope so.
intense. Should be fairly easy, hopefully. We have, in the packet, we have approximately 19 parcels that we're abating. On those were for pay 15, so we had the opportunity to have those pulled from the outsourcer file. So those owners have not been sent property tax statements yet on those parcels. And also any parcels that are in the MP linkage that had no tax change, those were also pulled because they're all part of the same MP grouping.
Multiple parcel grouping and linkage is what that means, so if somebody.
Right.
Okay.
Right, sorry, I did
Okay.
abbreviate that.
No, you did.
Okay, anyway, so those, as soon as these, well, hopefully these are approved today. Once they're approved, then we will continue processing those and get the tax statements out to the tax owners with the correct tax amounts on them.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you
Mr.
may,
Chair?
Commissioner Jelinski.
Do we need to do these individually?
No, I can go through and just, I can just briefly say what's in the packet, if that's okay. In the packet, we have 6 parcels that should have been classified as homestead, whether it was ag homestead or residential, mid-year, full-year, fractional. We have 5 parcels that were affected, their taxes were affected because of that MP linkage, typically ag parcels. So we have 5 parcels like that. 1 parcel had an incorrect linkage. It was the records and classifications were not linked properly. 2 parcels where the disabled vet exclusion should have been removed in the previous year because the previous owner had sold. So typically that should have been removed promptly once it's sold or they move out. That's the same with, we have 3 parcels with the blind disabled class, same scenario where the property owner may have sold or moved. 1 parcel where Green Acres and Rural Preserve should have been valued on the parcel. It was not, so we had to correct that, and also we had 1 parcel that had an incorrect land code in CAMA, causing the property to be overvalued. That one was for pay 15 and also for the 2 previous years that we are correcting. So that is just my brief synopsis as to what is in the packet. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Questions of the board?
With that, I would so move on that. Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. That's
Thank
it?
you. That's it.
All
Pretty
right.
simple.
All that
See how
waiting
quick,
for
see how
such a
quick our
little
data
thing.
done?
Well,
We
I
just
was
started with
hoping I
you.
could wave to
We
you
could just start
and
with you.
interject at the
Yeah, I
last
started
one.
with you, we'd only been here 15 minutes.
All right. Yep, thank you.
Auditors report. Deb, you've been waiting a long time.
Yeah, mine's quick and easy too.
Really? Okay.
I have the Bethany Lutheran Church. One day bingo. Canteen has the 2 a.m. liquor license. The Piers Commercial Club has the 1-day permit for liquor license. And the Minnesota Fishing Museum would like to do a raffle coming up really quick.
Also move on all 4, Mr. Chair.
I'll second on all 4, Mr.
Do
Chair.
I have further discussion, gentlemen? I have a couple of questions. So the Canteen Supper Club, this is, I mean, have they always been at 2 o'clock, allowed to be open till 2?
Yeah.
Okay, just curious, okay. And you run that by the sheriff?
Yes.
Again? and-
All of these go
Oh, I'm
by the
sorry.
sheriff before we
Very
bring
good,
them
thank
here.
you. And then the other one, the 1-day temporary liquor license for the Piers Commercial Club for their Freedom Fest. Have we approved Freedom Fest yet?
This is actually not the Freedom Fest. That will be coming in a week or so.
It says Freedom Fest.
And Mr. Chair, there's 2 separate items, if I may.
Okay.
There's the liquor license and then there's the large assembly ordinance permit.
Right,
This would be
right.
the liquor license. No, we have not yet seen the large
So we
assembly permit.
approved the liquor license before we approved the assembly? I'm just questioning.
You guys can decide, apparently they've applied for the liquor license. I haven't
So
seen.
do we generally, is that a general practice? I'm just curious.
You know, I'm not sure for the last year to go back, I'm not
Sure.
positive.
Yeah, I'm just,
Mr. Chair, if that makes more sense, if you're more comfortable, we can
Yep,
wait and pull
we can
that
wait.
one till the large assembly ordinance is there.
I
It
would,
seems
I
reasonable.
guess I'd think we'd.
It's approve one or the other, or you approve them both at the same time. I
Yeah,
guess.
either way.
Because they can't have, if they don't have the large assembly, they're not gonna be able to use your
Right,
liquor license.
right.
Mr. Chair, would there happen to be anything where they need this done now for time-wise
No.
versus the other? I have
And the
read-
one caveat I can throw out to you is they are meeting with Sean tomorrow to go over any questions they may have out of him. So if you'd like to wait,
I would just as soon it be included with the application.
Well,
Is that?
Mr. Chair, there's two separate, it
Yeah.
takes two separate
Right.
approvals, it's a large
Oh,
assembly.
no, I
permit.
understand
Oh.
that, I understand, but we can approve them both at the same time.
Yes, we can approve them at that meeting. We are working on that. I've talked to the police chief and peers. We've been in communication regarding just getting everything in order. The large assembly ordinance permit is much more complicated, exactly, than the liquor license. So my guess is they're working to bring this all together. The liquor license just
Is
doesn't
that
take
coming in
as
the
long.
next couple of weeks, you think?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
They're just
moving
finalizing all
forward.
the details. Like I said, Sean is meeting with them tomorrow. We've hammered out everything we need in our office. We should have that as soon as Sean is done.
Okay. I made the motion, I guess I have no problem, if
Neither do I.
everybody
And again,
wants
'cause
it.
maybe there's insurance thing that they.
Yep,
gotta
I mean,
get
if they
the title.
needed it before or something, you know, for insurance or.
There's no reason we need this in place just yet. We have time to get this liquor license in place. We're working on the insurance and everything. That falls in with the other permit.
Right.
Does everybody want to do it all together? If
I
we
was
do it-
just questioning, I
Yeah.
don't find nothing out
What
unless I
does
ask
everybody
questions.
feel? I mean, I don't want to
I'm-
hold something up.
I'm open to either way, whatever.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with the way it's presented here, get it out of the way.
Do we have a motion?
There is a motion.
Yeah, I
It is
made,
for the
I
four.
made the motion.
Okay, good.
And
We have
I
a
made the
motion.
motion for all four of them.
Okay, very
That
good.
was
So I
my
have a motion
motion.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do you wanna do warrants?
Warrants,
I'll so move on the warrants and all the bills we got.
commissioners, everything.
I'll
All right.
second it.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Winchell.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thanks, Deb. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. I think Steve Bukowski's next.
Should we take a little break?
Again?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Yes.
Good to see you still have your humor.
You have to. You have to.
No hair, but a little bit of humor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we had included in your packet the abstract of bids for the ground-in pavement message. It's a highway safety improvement project that we received 90% funding through federal funds. And what we'll be doing is we will be grinding in mainly our stop-aheads, which we normally now paint with our own crews. We'll use better reflective materials on the pavement. They're recessed so that the sanding operations, they will hold up better under those conditions. Much better reflectivity. And so we're requesting that we would award that to, the name of the company is Groove Tech of Minnesota.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. It's a roll call vote. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Winchell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else, Steve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have also received an application for renewal of a solid waste hauler's license by Hengel Ready Mix and Construction. They have met the requirements of the ordinance. They typically do license with us annually, and they do typically do this at a later date than the first of the year because they're not really a garbage hauler. They're more like burn buildings, sometimes cleanups once the lake folks start coming back to in those areas. And so they've normally delayed licensing similar to this. They have met and comply with the requirements of the ordinance to be licensed. And so our recommendation is that the board would authorize them to be licensed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
Steve,
Jelinski.
I'm anticipating that, I think you said it, but they meet and greet and are up to date with everything that we require.
Yes.
That's
correct.
Thank you.
And question, any other questions from the board? My question, Steve, is we're talking about licensing
Demolition. hauler.
demolition. They will then be licensed to do that, but they'd have to bring it here? Anything they do, they have to bring here, correct?
Well,
To our county landfill?
with the demolition, we'll be working that through on
Yeah,
how
oh,
we're
it still
going
has
to
to
do
go through
that.
that
Yeah,
process.
because demolition is a little bit different in the requirements of them having to come to our facility.
Okay.
And so there will be some economic things that we do to make that happen.
Okay.
Is probably how it'll be set up.
Okay, very good. All right.
Did we
Are you
vote?
done? Did we vote on that? Did we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We did now.
We did. You bet. I'm sorry.
Is that it, Steve?
I have one more item, I think that's going around.
Oh.
And
I know, I wasn't gonna say nothing, it was in your hands, you know.
I thought this was Deb getting a jump on things.
You're not dealing with bridges today?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board,
I drove from one of the way here, that's good.
we had a discussion at our planning meeting last week that we have become eligible for bonding money for the replacement of bridge number 49509 on County State Aid Highway 43 over the Platte River. Just under $300,000 in bonding money has been approved for this structure. That's approximately 50% of the bridge. We would have to then match 50% of the bridge plus the approach grades. In order, one of the options that I am proposing that we would fund the portions that are not funded by the bonding money is that we would transfer funds that we have in our current municipal construction account over to the regular construction account where it can be utilized in the rural area. And so in order to do that, we have to notify all the municipalities of less than 5,000 population that we intend to do that. They have an opportunity to discuss with the board projects that they may want within the municipality, whether we have projects in our 5-year plan that might be in their municipality, those type of issues. And we'd try to work those out so that they would remove an objection if they had that. We report that to the Commissioner of Transportation, and once we meet those requirements, then he would authorize that the transfer of the municipal construction money would go to the rural construction account, and we could utilize it for this bridge. So my request is that you would adopt the resolution that would direct us to set the public hearing, and I would want to set it either the last meeting in April or the first meeting in May at a regular county board meeting, just like we had today.
21st of April or
May 5th.
Or May 5th.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Jelinski.
I will make the motion at the very least for the purpose of discussion.
I have a motion on the floor for discussion.
The last discussion I would have is, Mr. Chair, is do we want an exact date for now, or what are we gonna do here? You gave us two options, so should we make a decision already?
That would be great, Mr.
Either
Chair.
one is
That way
fine
we
with
could
me.
advertise it
Well, let's
appropriately and
get
make
it
sure we have
done
time.
quicker, so I move.
If I could just comment, we have to notify all of the municipalities and put that in perspective, so I would prefer the May 5th.
There we go.
So that the
Okay.
timelines can be met and we can make sure we've notified them, and then sometimes their meetings don't quite match. I think it's better if we can push it out to the May 5th.
May 5th.
May 5th, okay?
And what time is that we're looking at?
Right after the board. Okay.
Well,
Right,
wait,
at
Mr.
board.
Chair,
How would you
During.
like that?
Board meeting, we have a public hearing.
Sutter, we got her
We got
taken
it
care
covered.
of.
Yep. Okay.
Commissioner,
Good.
Mr. Chairman, would you like it earlier on the agenda so that if folks do come to the hearing, we get it taken care of and they don't have to wait?
That would be a good
Yep.
idea,
Yep.
which we will address.
So they don't have to wait.
In case we have to.
Steve, do you know
Sure,
when this
somebody has to
project will
wait, right?
possibly
There's an
start?
order
Well,
of the
no, we'll be discussing.
You know,
that.
I'm thinking it'll probably be somewhere July, that it would take place if everything happens correctly.
And
Okay, it
Mr.
takes about 2 months.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
The only reason I asked that question is I have a lot of farmers over there. It'd be nice if they get their farm work done on that side of the bridge if they're over here, so they don't have
That's
to drive
good.
all the way around. Because that would make a
There
big
is the
difference.
King Road, just to the south of there, but,
Around that, yep, that goes
but
around.
sometimes that's kind of narrow. Some of that bigger equipment might have some difficulty with it.
Just kinda wondering.
Right, Old Gravelville Road?
Yep, that old bridge.
Just there many times. All right, we have a motion and a second.
We don't have a second.
Nope.
Oh, second, whatever, that was.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, my
Yes.
further discussion is, Steve, can you explain to me how this money works again? You lost.
Take it out
Okay.
of the bank
And this,
account.
so you're gonna we're gonna have the public hearing, I got that piece.
The savings.
Could these other, the purpose of it is ultimately put the bridge together on 43. But if Sobieski picks somebody, I don't care, Bolus, comes here and says, oh, we wanna do this with that money, does that kind of take it off the table then? I don't, that's where I'm lost.
What I would expect it may bring out is there might be some project out there that a municipality wants done.
Yeah.
Most of the projects that currently that we're dealing with are mill and overlays or resurfacing type projects. They're not reconstruction projects where we tear up the whole town and curb and gutter go in. We have most of that completed. And so if there is a project similar to, say, a resurfacing project to get the ride back into it, our future municipal allotments will continue to go to the direction of the municipalities, and we would do those projects. We would talk to them about when we could fit it into our program. And so that kind of conversation we'd have, so that we could still take the allotment that sits in our account now and transfer it.
Okay. And I guess that pretty much answered my question, but I wasn't sure if.
You know, if they object to this and there's a project that's gonna take all of the money up,
Yeah.
it's possible that we
that
can't
we'd
do
put
this.
this on hold. That answered my question.
I think
You put it in the 5-year plan then for them,
Yep,
and let them
that's
know
fine.
we can do
Yep,
it now
yep,
and-
yep.
or in a year or two.
That's how we'd try to work it.
All right.
And then, you know, if it all falls through, I think we'd have to look at, we have 300 grand in the bonding money. We have some in our regular account now. We maybe have to utilize some from our current road and bridge fund, and then next year, we would pull it out of the regular account.
Thank you very much.
So there's other ways to
Good
do it,
explanation.
but this is, I think, the best way right now to utilize our
Yep,
funds.
thank you.
Right? We like that.
Exactly.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We need a roll call on that or not? No?
Transfer of funds, yes.
Yes. Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher? Aye.
Thank you very much, that's all I have.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Nice
it.
to
All that little bit for that long wait, huh, Mr.
About
McCoskey?
that. Yeah, but it was interesting, what he said.
You liked it on that side of the table.
Thanks, Steve.
Ms. Gruber?
I have a few items on the agenda. First, I have a tentative agreement for Teamsters, the bargaining unit that covers our correctional officers and dispatchers, that I'm requesting approval on. Some of the major components that we talked about, of course, are cost of living. We have a 2-year contract, which in 2015, we have a 2% cost of living, and in 2016, a 2.25. And Mr. Chair, this falls in line with other pattern settlements within the county structure. We looked at overtime language, separated out correctional officers and dispatchers, given Fair Labor Standards Act laws. It makes sense to make that distinction between the two groups of employees that are covered. And then we also have a component that was changed regarding the cap of the number of comp time hours that can be used within a year. Mr. Chair, outside of those, there were some minor wording or cleanup issues in the contract that happen from time to time when they're open, that we've discovered throughout the year. But other than that, those are the major components of that. So what I'm requesting is this TA to be approved, a tentative agreement to be approved, and apply any relevant provisions to the appropriate staff.
I have a request on the table by our administrator. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion, gentlemen?
I have none. I believe this is what you were, in all respect, Ms. Gruber, this is what you were asked to do. You were asked to settle a contract. You were given the parameters, thank you. And you worked within those parameters, in all honesty, in my opinion, very clearly, correctly, exactly, if you will. I know that there was an issue with the time off business. You've fixed it. So what else can I say?
Further discussion? Is this a roll call vote okay, no. Gentlemen, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move forward with that. I also have a tentative agreement that will come forward from the LELS, the Law Enforcement Labor Services Group, which is the only other group that we don't have settled for 2015. And that should be coming, provided a positive vote for their group, hopefully the next meeting, or at least by May 5th. I anticipate that to come forward. Then we're settled up through 2015 for all bargaining units. 2016 I have open AFSCME units, which are Social Services and Public Works. As you know, and maybe do or don't, we have approximately half, give or take, of our employees covered under collective bargaining agreements with different unions, and there's 4 different unions altogether, groups of unions, 2 are AFSCME, that cover those 50% roughly of employees that we have. And so we'll continue to work with them, and negotiations is always an interesting process in which, you know, you give, you take, you know, a successful agreement is typically when you both walk away going, oh, you know, we have to negotiate and come to a reasonable agreement. I think we've done that in this case. So, thank you.
Done good, thank you.
The other component, I outlined some of those changes in your board packet for you. One more thing I wanted to identify, and is required by law that we do when we close a meeting for my annual evaluation. I just wanted to recap that, which was, we had a great discussion last meeting in terms of my performance. On average, I had an acceptable standard rating from you. I, as always, appreciate the feedback and the ability to talk to you. It's an interesting job working for 5 different people and 5 very different people that bring different things that may agree or disagree. And so the ability to sit down with all of you and go through that and what you'd like to see, what I have been doing that's worked well, what you may like to see different and such is a good opportunity. So I appreciate the feedback and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And so that is our legal requirement to run a synopsis on what we did and talked about. And then also wanted to let you know that April is National County Awareness Month. NACO kind of runs, you know, some different materials that are out there, and what my intention is to get an article out into the record and submit one, and I'd like to focus this year on, you know, what we do as an organization, why what we do matters. I think today was a good example of, you know, highlighting the variety of what county government is about, and the different issues that we address on a regular basis. I don't know that everybody always appreciates and fully understands that. I like to tell folks I love my job because I do literally A to Z every day and able to see the impact of what we have. So I'd like to concentrate a little bit on that, on employees and what we do and how we go about that and how it impacts daily lives. So I'm going to send that in, but National County Awareness Month is the month of April, and thanks for your work and involvement in that. And that's what I have, other than issues for me, or questions, or anything you'd like brought
Questions,
forward.
gentlemen, issues?
I guess, I have one, I should have said it before, but Deb, Amy, everybody did a good job giving us the right information for this, fish trap, permit, and I really appreciate the work you guys did for that, so. And we'll probably have to do more.
Yeah.
I have one question, just so that, if one of us has information on a topic, can that be shared with any of us by email? How can, Kevin's got some stuff there that he was gonna talk about. If he'd have things, how can he share that with us before today right here? Or can't he?
Information, Mr. Chair, can be shared among county board. You cannot discuss it and come to conclusions. The open meeting law prevents you from coming to decisions without that discussion occurring in a public venue, such as meetings like this. But that doesn't mean information can't be shared, or that doesn't mean that you 5 can't be in a room together for some reason or another. I think open meeting law is somewhat misinterpreted at times in that regard. You can share information. I can share information with all 5 of you. All of that can occur, but you can't discuss it. You can't come to conclusions in that. Right. You can even talk to each other with that, but it's not about, calling somebody and saying, well, this guy said this, now this guy, I think it should be this, and this other guy's opinion is this, so we need to decide that. That's coming to a conclusion. But if you say, I have some information, I'd like to share that with you and provide it and not come to that conclusion, that is okay under always cautionary, the cautionary situation, which is you need to be able to prove that occurs, and you need to be careful about that. The best advice I can give you is to discuss and share and do things in a public meeting, because then that's when that's happening, and that's when that's appropriate, because people are able to listen in if they so choose on that. So perception sometimes is an impact in that, but no, you are able to share information.
So, Mr. Chair, Mike, I have to ask you, I need to know.
Yep.
I think I do know. Are you referring to Kevin, Randy, myself, forwarding an email that Nicole sent to me regarding Fish Trap Lake, for the sake of argument? Is that what you mean?
guess
I guess
I'm
I read.
referring to any subject that has got good information that I should be looking at. Just because I may have a book, just because I may listen, I might not have seen it, I might not have understood it. And I think anything that will help me make a decision, I encourage you to send me. I've read all the emails from everybody on this situation, but there's times when I'm not sure, I can read things sometimes and I'm not exactly sure I take it the same way somebody else does. So I want to be very informed on a decision that we make, so I want to welcome anybody to send me anything, whether they think I know it or I don't know it. I understand the discussion isn't there, you don't talk back and forth, but make sure that I see specific information, I welcome that.
One thing that can help in that communication flow, or what can work, is if it's sent to one location, is sometimes nice, and that can avoid that accidental communication among you two, that if it's forwarded to someone like me that clerks the board, then I can submit to all of you also to make sure that that communication flow goes. That can be one way that, implication, or that even accidental reply that could occur, or that discussion that could take, that kind of takes that out of the equation if you want to. Do that, that's
Well, Mike,
absolutely fine.
and I think you're referring to these documents here that we all should have and review, but whatever. I mean, the dilemma, and you asked a question during the meeting of me, is, well, why didn't you bring that to the planning commission meeting? And my issue is, I mean, if I've got an issue or concern, I can sure share that, but I don't want to influence the planning commission either, because I think they're making a decision and coming with a recommendation. Now, once they pull the information together, come up with their conclusions and make their recommendations, okay, then I believe it's up to me, okay, to take a look at what's there, okay, and what their ruling were and what the conditions were, to do the research, because that doesn't, I mean, they have to, and I don't know, when I go to that meeting, if they're gonna approve it or deny it, see, so then I redo all my research, and this is the place to bring it to them, because we have the final say. You see, it isn't, I mean, I could sure try to send it out to all you guys, but I'm not gonna try and influence you guys either. You know what I mean, but when it comes time to the board, I still feel there's things I have to share that I've done research on, okay, as far as that brings me to the recommendations I'm gonna make, or the, you know, where I stand on an issue, so that's the dilemma. I don't know going into the planning commission what the issues are gonna come out of that planning commission meeting and what their concerns are or lack thereof. You see what I'm saying?
I do, except I look at it a little differently. I mean, I think the planning commission is there to have all the information they need to make a good decision.
I agree.
And if they don't have that information, I like it, just like we've got some emails from the sheriff where they looked up about the road and about I love those things because they brought it right to my attention. You can look and look and look and it doesn't matter. You know, they brought it to our attention, and anything that's valuable to making that decision, I appreciate. And I guess I'm just asking if it's okay to do that, but I like it. If you have something, send it to Deb, she can forward it on, that type of thing, because I don't know what you can and can't. I just wanna be informed.
And I agree with that too. And again, some of this stuff though, the planning commission didn't have access to at the time because it didn't come up, you know, so now it's, and that's why, you know, I've had some of the planning commission say, well, you know, do we have enough information? You have enough information, what you have right now to make a decision.
Well, sure.
But believe me, there could be a lot of things
I
coming up
understand.
after that.
See, and that's what happens, stuff comes in between in that time frame, and I'm then going, people are asking about water quality, and they're asking.
And commend the chair, all these emails he sent, he's not putting his opinion in or nothing like that.
Right.
And I
Very much.
appreciate that, that's what you're supposed to
perfectly
do.
legal.
There
Yep,
was
yep,
one, and I'll
yep.
go on record with this one, I had no problem with it. I don't remember when it was, and I don't care, but I sent an email reply to everybody. And I think the county attorney was part of it. And it took about 2 seconds, and I had an email back from Brian. I'm sure I had written something besides that. You can't do that. Right? So, pretty much anything that I send out now, I send to Deb, and she sends it out.
See, so if I send this stuff out to you, I just copy it to you and I say, I think you guys really need to take a look at this. Well, but that's still trying to influence you, and I believe
It's
the
not
time.
influencing if you just
If I
send
just
that.
send it,
Without
I
your
understand.
opinion.
I understand, that's right. So I think it comes to the board, and that's when we do this, and if there's other questions, we schedule another public hearing. See, I'm not in such a rush. I wanna be sure that everything comes in and that we pull this all together, whatever the decision is, and I think Randy and Jeff know, and Dwayne even knows that. if it passes, it does. I've never been upset because something passes or fails. I mean, that's not the way I am. But I sure as hell have to represent my constituents and look at the issues so that you've been made aware of that in your decision. So that's just kind of the way I look at it.
The way I would look at that, I would look at, we've had a public hearing, these people were here for a decision today.
No, that's
Well,
totally,
that's the way
no.
I look at this, otherwise why would we have it on our agenda?
Because we have to decide what conditions we add, whether we send it to a 30 to 60 day, whether we add the IAW. There's all these other things that we're looking at. Just because it's here doesn't mean we have to approve it.
Or deny it.
Or deny it, or deny it.
Well, I think, to me, the game changer was this.
No, understand.
Yeah.
But you can ask this board, Mike. Augers requested that they rezone 30 acres to commercial on Chaminade. And we got just about as much information on that. And the planning commission supported that 100%. Every member voted for it. It came to us and we shot it down 5-0 because we did the research on what that would mean putting 30 more acres of commercial there. And even if they weren't gonna do nothing like they said, if they were to sell it to Craigan's, or could that little lake support that amount of commercial, you know what I mean? So we're always gathering information, so I believe it's a gathering information stage from when the planning commission decides until it gets to us, and then we go at it from where we think it needs to go. See, they weren't here for a decision, maybe they were here for a decision, but
But I think we owe that to them.
No, we don't owe anything to them.
But I think we do.
We
I
owe
think
it
that's
to
what all the
everybody.
processes went through.
Yeah.
I think that's what all the other process, we had the dirt situation, they go through that, they go through another one. And I'd have no problem changing today because of the marina. That's the only reason I changed my mind today.
That was the only reason.
So no other information would have been valuable. The marina thing was, I shouldn't say it would be valuable, but the marina deal was the deal killer for me today. And I think they all understand that because that wasn't in the picture before. I think any information that should be in the picture should be here before today or given today to make that good decision. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I'm just trying to clarify.
So you never have a public hearing, so the board never decides to have a public hearing after this?
We had a public hearing.
What? Where?
Planning commission.
Planning commission.
If we don't feel we got enough information at the planning commission and other people weigh in the interim, we just postponed it because the DNR didn't weigh in and we wanted them to. You see what I'm saying?
Well, no, I'm saying that because they couldn't come up with the documentation.
Right.
But just to keep having public hearings, that doesn't serve no purpose to the people that are trying to accomplish something.
To the people that are trying to accomplish, but you remember the people that are against it are also trying to accomplish something.
Well, yeah, but then a decision, yes or no, I feel, should have been made.
Well,
So
again,
that accomplished something,
maybe
that
to
accomplishes
get
yes or
this
no.
Moving on, I personally would have been here wanting to make a decision rather than not make a decision. The only game breaker to me was the marina, because Amy and Brian both recommended that and I agreed with them. If that wouldn't have came about, I appreciate the information you'd have gave here, whatever, but I would have personally wanted to make a decision on this today.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, with the information that you all have and why you make the decisions you make is what then comes forward to say, you know what, I had all of this additional information and here's why I'm voting the way I'm doing. And that's what we talk about in terms of being able to identify on the record what goes into your thought process, and that's what we articulate when a decision is made. And I think, you know, don't short yourself, a decision was made today, and a valid decision was made today in terms of being able to extend that.
To wait for the marina, and who knows when that'll be.
Well, hopefully soon, I mean,
but
anyway, and then you each having that information that you're bringing forward that has compelled you to make whatever choice you make in terms of the vote you have. And so that's at that time, when that comes
And I
forward on the
appreciate
record.
Mr. Chairman said too, because if he brings this to me and maybe I'm gonna vote this way versus that way, he gives me this information here at this meeting, bang, now I might go this way. Based on the information, I might go this way. And that's why we have this here board meeting at the time, see? But now this came in with Amy, ooh, a big one.
I'm just trying to verify when information should come, when it shouldn't come, how I can get all the information that I don't find. You know, because I've appreciated the stuff that you have sent through parties, because that's how I figure this thing out.
Yeah.
So-
And if the question before you today would have been, you know, deciding on that permit, that's what you would have used in terms of articulating why you're making the decision you make. I've learned this, I weigh this is what, you know, has helped me make up my mind, and that's what you are then articulating and what we have on record as
And
to
the
why
thing
you
is
make the
too,
decision.
who's to say we get all the information? We're never gonna get all the
Oh, no,
information.
no, it's an ongoing
And
process.
So, let's say we make a decision, yea or nay, and all of a sudden, we realize on the books, there's a capacity on this lake for 50 boats. Well, it's too late now, we can't, because we already made a decision, so. which
The
I hope-
DNR might say there's a marina there and we can add 50 more boats.
That's possible, yeah.
You're right.
I mean, that's what
Who
the
knows?
study would show.
Who knows?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Well, then, yeah.
absolutely a fact.
Yep.
They may say that.
Anyway, thank you very much
Yeah, it's a good
Yep.
decision.
for everything.
All right, gentlemen, is there anything else? We have schedules?
April 13th through April 24th.
Commissioner Jelinski?
13 through when?
The 24th.
Got it.
Are you ready for me?
I am.
Okay.
On the 13th, 7 PM, there's a public hearing for social host ordinance, and I believe that is right here. Am I correct?
Yeah, is that right here?
Yep,
Right here at
on
the boardroom.
13th, Yep, at 7.
On the 14th, at 8:30 in the morning, I believe we have a planning meeting. On the 15th, it's tax day, by the way, and at 5 o'clock that afternoon, I'll have a Hands of Hope meeting in Todd County. On Wednesday, the 16th, at 10
That's Thursday the 16th.
Excuse me, thank you. On Thursday, the 16th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll have an armor meeting, owners and operators, in Alexandria. At 6 PM that evening, there's an open house at Camp Ripley dealing with ACUB. I believe that's in the environmental classroom at Camp Ripley. At 7:30 that night, meeting room 1, I have an Egg Society meeting
7:30, you said?
at 7:30.
Nothing in the cup to
Was it
spill,
empty then?
but we would probably think it was full by my reaction.
On the 21st,
Still have time to make a motion
21st?
for a new laptop.
at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I think it's 7 anyway, county breakfast.
Do you have county breakfast at 7?
Yes.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock in the morning, we have county board. And I don't know why, but I have written in here at noon, there's a video at public health, but I don't know if that's even
On the 21st?
on the 21st.
Mr.
I don't know if that's true, if
Chair, if I
that's
could
gonna.
clarify, I did hear from Katie on that, if you want that now.
Okay.
That 10:30 to 12:30, 11:30 if you don't want to come for that vaccination video.
Is that on the
So it's
21st?
I
either,
think Mr. Jablonski should attend.
For a vaccination?
so you can either come at 10:30 on the 21st to 12:30, that's the public health meeting that Katie's doing. Or if you don't want to attend that, awesome documentary on vaccinations, you just show up at 11:30.
That's what it
I'm
is?
quoting Katie.
So what happens at 11:30?
Lunch.
I think we're mistaken.
That- This Friday you're
That's
talking
wrong.
about.
I'm talking about the 21st.
Tuesday.
No, this Friday is a dinner.
This
right?
Friday is a public health dinner
Right.
at the
Okay, that's
chamber.
what I'm talking about, the 10:30. Did I miss that? I'm sorry. Then the 10:30.
No, wait a minute, I'm
Right.
confused here now. We're talking about this Friday is
Yes.
public health at noon. We're talking the 21st now.
21st is
Sorry.
something totally different, and it might be the same video.
You know, and I got a shack meeting that day.
We got
I'm
community-
sure.
Don't we have
So-
community development?
7 o'clock you have,
Yeah.
and
But we
9
might have
o'clock
a-
you have,
we might have
and
a
I don't know
meeting
about the
or-
noon o'clock.
You might too, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Thank you.
The 22nd,
I think so.
it's the 22nd at 9:30 in the morning. I have a HSEM quarterly meeting in Stearns County, and I don't know where.
Okay.
And at 7 o'clock that same evening, we have the Spring Township Board meeting. It's at the courthouse in meeting room 1. And the 23rd. On the 23rd, I have an EMS Joint Powers Board meeting. I believe it's at the Wake Park, whatever center. And that's a budget meeting
And what time is that at?
at noon. And on the 24th, I have to pick up roses between noon and 6 for my bride at Coburn.
And it's a secret,
Make
right?
sure that goes
Commissioner.
It's not a secret
that goes in the
anymore.
paper.
It's gonna be in the doggone newspaper now. And other than that, Mr. Chair, that's all of everything that I have that I'm aware of.
Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, on the 13th, I've got a yellow ribbon meeting in Flensburg. It's at the, I'm not sure where it's at.
Not too many choices if
It's
in
at
Friday.
5:30 in the evening. Well, it could be at the bar.
Or the ball field, or the ball
No,
field.
or they got a little community center.
at the-
And I'm not sure where it is.
Call us if you need to know where to look.
And then we have the social host ordinance public hearing at 7 that evening.
Yep.
We got planning on the 14th. Mike and myself have corrections meeting on the 15th at 9 o'clock in Brainerd, Land Services. I have on the 16th, myself, I got a Central Minnesota Community Corrections Advisory meeting at 10:30 there also. And then I have this don't have to be put on there. Northern Pines don't have, right? That's removed. 21st, we got board. Mike and I have community development, and I think it's 12:15 at Pine Country Bank. And I got something about a shack meeting. I gotta find out from Katie about that one. And then Township Officer, 22nd. On the 23rd, I have Region 5 in Staples at 6 o'clock.
On the 23rd?
23rd. That should be all I have.
The only one I have to add to that is on the 16th, I got a tri-cap action meeting, TCC.
Okay.
Otherwise.
That's at 5 o'clock.
At 5,
5
thank you.
o'clock, yep.
Commissioner Winchard.
And the only one I have to add because it looks like they all picked, I'd like to go back to the 17th. What's on the 17th again? Some public health, what?
I got nothing.
17th?
Nothing on the 17th.
Nothing.
That's this Friday.
You're killing me
This
now.
Friday, the 10th.
And the
Is-
21st.
This Friday the 10th is the Little Falls, but I thought there was, okay, see, I'm gonna scratch that out because I didn't catch it.
Commissioner Wincher, thank you for asking the question,
Commissioner?
because I need to have a follow-up on that.
Go ahead,
Oh,
follow
God.
up.
Friday, Ms. Gruber, you tried
Friday,
to get
which
this
day
through
now?
my head, I was on a different day. Friday the 10th. I was asked to be at public, or at the chamber at 11:30. Am I supposed to be there earlier?
11:30 is when you can come for lunch.
I'm supposed to take photographs at 11:30. I thought lunch was at noon.
Well, that's
At the chamber.
that's at Home Depot.
Regarding the public health.
Oh,
Just
God,
asking the
oh,
question.
But if you would like to,
That's at the
and I
Depot.
quote,
Video.
watch an awesome documentary on vaccinations, you can come at 10:30.
10:30 for that,
But
the same
otherwise,
day.
11:30.
Well, I have noon for lunch.
11:30.
And that's
I had
this,
noon also.
that's this,
I'm glad we.
This
did
Friday,
this-
at the
10th
chamber.
Thank
of
you.
April
Right by the railroad
2015.
I didn't mean to confuse everybody on that
Yeah.
one. Thank you.
Commissioner Winchard, are you done deleting and adding?
I'm deleting, but I'm adding the 23rd soil and water at 9 AM. And that way, you guys picked her all
And that's it, huh?
for me, yep.
Let's see here.
No such as being repetitious.
We're starting on the 13th, huh?
Right? For you, it's the 12th.
Okay. The public meeting, planning session.
You gotta have a library.
Department heads, well, I do tonight.
Okay,
Start
thank you. You can
Thursday.
have
Let's see, 10
Thank you
a.m.
very, very
Yeah,
kindly.
that's it. What's the 10 a.m. meeting at the government center on the 15th?
15th?
Anyone know?
Let's see here what you got.
On the 15th.
10 a.m. government center.
I got nothing on
I got
Wednesday.
nothing, I got a department head at 8:30, but that's not.
I'll figure it out, I suppose.
tomorrow,
Airport,
that's
airport
on the
commission, airport, tomorrow's the 15th?
Good day.
I got a department head on the
8th.
15th too.
Let's
That's
see
what
here,
it says.
Tuesday, the 16th, airport commission, ACUP open house,
It originally was scheduled, but it went back.
What time is your airport commission?
12 o'clock on the 16th.
It's on the 8th.
Okay.
And ACUP open house at Camp Ripley, but God, I thought I had something else on Tuesday, the 16th in the evening. But anyways, I have Headwaters Board on the 17th at 10 o'clock. We got breakfast, county board,
I'm sorry, what was Headwaters? What time was it?
10 o'clock, they changed it from 9 to 10.
I have that stuff in my emails.
And then the Spring Township meeting on the 22nd, what are we going through?
The 24th.
That should be it, excuse me.
All right.
Mr. Chair, do you want clarification on that 21st meeting or not? For public health. JJ, what was your question?
21st?
Are you confusing us,
No,
Administrator
I'm
Dan?
trying to clarify.
We have breakfast at 7,
For
county
whatever
county
reason-
board at 9, right?
Mine haven't
Yeah.
What?
For whatever reason, I have be a public health policymaker, public health, at noon on the 21st.
Yep, and what that is that you can participate, all county commissioners and other local elected officials are invited to participate in this event presented by the Minnesota Department of Health and the State Community Health Services Advisory Committee, or SHAC. So it talks about decisions about all of your education, transportation, housing, economic development, and how that impacts community health. So it's kind of an overall
I think
video
she
conference.
sent an email out
Yep,
regarding.
Upstairs?
she had sent an email, Katie was going to project it out, I believe in the public health library at noon, if you so choose
If
to
we so
participate.
choose.
At noon on the 21st.
After the board meeting, so that'll bring up it.
Yep, we're probably never gonna see it because, you
Yeah,
know,
especially
like, look at the time.
Chairman Mauer runs 5 hours a meeting, 5 hours
Yeah,
over.
there's a.
Gentlemen, any more negative comments before we close the board? Just checking. All right, do I have a motion?
Also move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, here we go.
There's Board of Adjustments tonight, right?
And
Yes.
Yes, 7 o'clock tonight.
see Craig tomorrow night at 5 o'clock
All right.
with Mr. Wilson.
Either it's